Chapter 1142. 6 Ears Spiritual Monkey. I want to know the specific effects. Ningyu said in a low voice. As a Sky Supreme in his previous life, Ningyu naturally knew about some heaven-defying treasures that could increase a cultivator's talent. But his tone was so serious, which meant that the treasure in the Devil's Cave was definitely not ordinary. The specific effect is that if you use it, you can increase your talent from 5 absolute geniuses to 6 absolute geniuses. He explained. There is an extremely strict condition for using that treasure. You must be a genius of 4 absolute geniuses or above. Otherwise, the effect will only be equivalent to an ordinary level 10 pill. What the F***ck? Ningyu couldn't help but curse. Treasure. Definitely a treasure. In his previous life, he didn't even come across an item that could increase his talent when he was in the Sovereign Realm. Who would have thought that in this life, he would come across a treasure that could increase his talent when he was only a level 2 sovereign? Ningyu, I want you to promise me that you can't use the treasure left behind by the Demon Lord. Afraid that Ningyu would misunderstand, he added, what I mean is that the treasure has already been reserved by the higher-ups of the Alchemy Union. If you use it rashly, it might cause them to be disgusted with you and they might even kill you. Things haven't even started yet. Isn't it a little too early to talk about this? Ningyu knew that he was saying this for his own good, so he didn't blame him. He was a level 1 sovereign and a level 8 alchemist. He was one of the higher-ups in the Mystic Moon Continent's Alchemy Union. Even he took the initiative to warn him, so it was clear how powerful the higher-ups of the Alchemy Union were. I know of a small path that can lead us to the inner region. He knew that he couldn't waste time here, so he didn't go deep into the Devil's Cave. Instead, he turned into a fork. Hot. Extremely hot. Ice and fire, 2 different worlds. The main cave of the Devil's Cave was cold, but the fork was hot. Ningyu didn't want to experience this kind of pain anymore. Ha ha ha, Demon Lord, do you think I won't be able to find the treasure if you hide it here? When Ningyu and he entered the fork, Devil Sundan had already arrived at the inner region of the Devil's Cave. The area Sundan Devil was in was very spacious. There were only 4 huge stone pillars. Each of the stone pillars was engraved with a large character. Demon, Ghost, Supreme, Swordsmanship. When the 4 words were put together, it was the Devil Lord. Break. After laughing maniacally, Master Dan Devil pushed out his right hand. Shio. A cold light swept out, and suddenly exploded on the stone pillar with the word demon written on it. Catcher. The huge stone pillar suddenly shattered. Hua. Countless precious herbs emerged from the stone pillars. As expected of a 9th grade alchemist, he actually plundered so many medicinal herbs, and all of them are high-grade medicinal herbs. Looking at the herbs scattered on the ground, the devilish pill smacked his lips and revealed a satisfied expression. His objective this time was to obtain the Devil Venerable's treasure. Naturally, these precious medicinal herbs would fall into his hands. Break. His right hand flickered again, and a cold light shot out, shattering the 2nd stone pillar. Ding. The 2nd stone pillar was not filled with medicinal herbs, but with many jade bottles. Gulp. The Devil Son of Dan stared at the jade bottles scattered on the ground. His face revealed a look of ecstasy. I'm rich. As an alchemist, the devilish pill was very familiar with the medicinal herbs inside the jade bottles. There were so many medicinal herbs inside the jade bottles, and the lowest rank was 7th grade. There were even 2 jade bottles in the middle that were unusually eye-catching. Come here. The devilish pill made a grabbing motion in the air, and the 2 jade bottles appeared before him. Holding the jade bottles in his hand, the devilish pill's eyes became extremely hot. Peak 9th grade medicinal herbs. The medicinal herbs inside the 2 jade bottles were all peak 9th grade medicinal herbs, and were only a step away from becoming a 10th grade medicinal herb. There are a total of 10 peak 9th grade medicinal herbs. If I consume all of them, I will have a chance to advance to the 8th grade human venerable realm. The devilish pill had never been this excited before. Even though he had a high status in the Alchemy Union and had come into contact with 9th grade medicinal herbs, he had never seen a peak 9th grade medicinal herb. I have to consume them as soon as possible. If others find out, The consequences will be unimaginable. The devilish pill was very smart. The aura of a peak 9th grade medicinal herb was very terrifying. Some powerful alchemists could find him by following the aura. In other words, the devilish pill had to consume all 10 of these pills before returning to the alchemy union. That way, not only would he be able to improve his cultivation, but he would also be able to increase his status in the alchemy union. Come in. The devilish pill resisted the urge to consume the medicinal herbs. He took out a storage bag and placed all the jade bottles and medicinal herbs inside. After that, the devilish pill had a satisfied look on his face. Let me see what's inside the 3rd stone pillar. The devilish pill was very satisfied with the first 2 stone pillars. Now, the devilish pill's face was full of anticipation. Crack. The devilish pill used the same action to break the 3rd stone pillar. Raw. However, as soon as the 3rd stone pillar was broken, the expression on the devilish pill's face froze. A loud roar could be heard as a beast appeared in front of the devilish pill. 6 ears spiritual monkey. The beast in front of him had 6 ears. Its name was 6 ears spiritual monkey. 6 ears spiritual monkeys were very intelligent. When they were born, they were already at the 7th rank human supreme realm. Even though this 6 ears spiritual monkey was not yet an adult, its cultivation had already reached the 8th rank human supreme realm. It's over. The devilish pill was only at the advanced 7th rank human supreme realm. How was he going to defend against the 6 ears spiritual monkey? The demon lord knew that someone would come to steal his treasures when he was alive, so he left behind a backup plan. The 6 ears spiritual monkey's voice was a little sharp. What backup plan did he leave behind? The devilish pill asked. The demon lord was kind to me. His condition was to defeat me and obtain the treasures he left behind. The 6 ears spiritual monkey said calmly. I'm not fighting anymore. I'm leaving now. The devilish pill's mind was very clear. Fight with the 6 ears spiritual monkey? What a joke. He was simply courting death. The only way to survive was to escape. Otherwise, he would definitely be killed by the 6 ears spiritual monkey. Bang! The devilish pill only took a few steps before the exit was blocked by a giant stone door. You have no other choice. The 6 ears spiritual monkey stomped on the ground and his body shot out. Damn it! Seeing the 6 ears spiritual monkey charging at him, the devilish pill cursed under his breath and used all his strength to defend. Since there was no way to escape, he might as well fight with the 6 ears spiritual monkey. Even though the chances were slim, it was better than nothing. Poochie. However, the devilish pill was too optimistic. As soon as he came into contact with the 6 ears spiritual monkey, his body flew out and slammed into the stone door. The devilish pill spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura dropped from the advanced 7th rank human supreme realm to the 1st rank human supreme realm. Boring. Come out. Chapter 1143. Red Lotus Flower Boring, come out. When the 6-eared spirit monkey said those words, the entire area seemed to have frozen. The frozen space only lasted for a minute before it was broken by a loud explosion. Boom! Behind the stone wall where the demonic pill sun was, a huge crack suddenly appeared. Whoosh! Whoosh! A few figures dashed out from the crack. 6 ears spirit monkey. As soon as they came out, a look of shock appeared on their faces. Feeling the aura from Ning Yu and the others, 6 ears spirit monkey frowned in confusion. After all, the demonic pill sun was a late-stage 7th grade supreme martial artist. It was understandable for him to snatch the demon lord's treasure. But why were these 1st grade and 2nd grade human supreme martial artists, as well as 2 heavily injured martial artists, here to join in the fun? If you defeat me, you can take the treasure left behind by the demon lord. If you lose, you will die. After a moment of doubt, the 6-eared spirit monkey said calmly. Senior 6 ears spirit monkey, we are not here to snatch the demon lord's treasure. Ning Yu thought of a plan and said, our main goal is to kill the demonic pill sun. To kill the demonic pill sun? 6 ears spirit monkey was slightly startled. I don't care what your goal is. Anyone who enters the devil's cave must fight with me. If you defeat me, the treasure inside will belong to you. If you fail, you will die. Alright, I am willing to fight with you. Since there was no way to avoid it, Ningyu took a step forward and said. On the surface, it seemed like Ningyu wanted to fight with Six Ears Spirit Monkey. However, behind his back, Ningyu sent a message to Donghe. If I am not wrong, the demonic pill son should have a peak 9th grade pill on him. You should know what to do. Whoosh. After saying this, Ningyu's body flashed and he dashed towards Six Ears Spirit Monkey. Solitaire. For the first move, Ningyu did not use his full strength. Instead, he injected his primordial chi into the red demon sword and slashed out a sword wave. Ever since he had advanced to the sovereign realm, Ningyu had almost never used solitaire. After all, the power of solitaire was very weak, and it was no longer enough for Ningyu to deal with powerful enemies. The reason why he used solitaire now was to make the six-eared spirit monkey careless. Although the six-eared spirit monkey was an 8th grade initial stage human sovereign, Ningyu still had a chance to defeat him if he was careless. Insignificant skill. As expected, seeing how weak Ningyu's attacks were, the six-eared spirit monkey got excited. Anyway, I've been in the devil's cave for a long time. Why don't you stay and entertain me? Ningyu's attack was weak, and the six-eared spirit monkey's attack was not strong either. In order not to accidentally kill Ningyu, six-eared spirit monkey suppressed his cultivation to the 2nd grade supreme realm. Rumble. Inside the cave, Ningyu and the six-eared spirit monkey were fighting. While Ningyu and the six-eared spirit monkey were fighting, Donghe carefully came to the Devil Pill Prince's side and punched out with his right hand. Under the Devil Pill Prince's horrified gaze, Donghe punched the Devil Pill Prince's heart. Puff. On the surface, Donghe's punch didn't look like anything special. But when it came into contact with the Devil Pill Prince's heart, he suddenly exerted force, and a horrifying Yuan Qi wind entered the Devil Pill Prince's body. Crack, crack, crack. The Devil Pill Prince's internal organs were all smashed into pieces. There really is a peak 9th grade pill. Donghe rummaged through the Devil Pill Prince's body for a while, and then he took out a storage bag. Donghe was an 8th grade alchemist, and his soul force was very strong. He sent out a bit of his soul power and found that there were 2 special jade bottles in the storage bag. Each bottle contained 5 elixirs. Seniors, these pills are all for you. Donghe knew what Ningyu wanted, so he took out the pills and gave them to the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master. Palatial Lord Centauria, you refine pills faster than me. I'll leave all these pills for you to use. The Sword of Evil had already seen the Palace Master's devouring ability. It could be said that the Palace Master's devouring ability was twice as strong as the Sword of Evil's. Okay. The Palace Master didn't refuse. She took the 2 jade bottles from Donghe and threw them into her mouth. Crack. The jade bottles were crushed, and the 10 9th grade pills entered the Palace Master's body. Rumble. As it turned out, Sword Evil Venerable's decision was the right one. After the 10 peak 9th grade pills entered her stomach, the Palace Master's aura rose at a terrifying speed. In just a few seconds, she had recovered to the peak 7th grade Mortal Supreme, and the Palace Master's aura was still rising. What? When the Palace Master's aura rose to the peak 7th grade Mortal Supreme, the six-ears spirit monkey's expression changed drastically. He threw all caution to the wind and attacked Ningyu. Bang! The terrifying force pushed Ningyu back to the 4th stone pillar. Crack! The huge stone pillar suddenly split open. After the stone pillar cracked, a red petal fell from the top of the stone pillar. The demon lord's treasure, the red lotus. Donghe shouted when he saw the red petal falling. Swoosh. Hearing Donghe's words, Ningyu's heart was in turmoil. Without a word, he immediately rushed out. At the beginning, Ningyu was still wondering what kind of treasure could increase his talent and turn him from a 5 ultimate genius to a 6 ultimate genius. Now that he saw the red lotus, Ningyu finally understood. The red lotus did have such an effect. In fact, Ningyu could clearly feel that if he could devour the red lotus, he would have a high chance of advancing to the peak 3rd grade Mortal Supreme. Ningyu definitely wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. He used all his strength and arrived before the red lotus in the blink of an eye. He opened his mouth and wanted to devour the red lotus. You're courting death. However, before Ningyu could devour the red lotus petal, the 6 ears spirit monkey shouted and charged at him. The demon lord's condition was to defeat him to obtain the red lotus. Now, Ningyu wanted to devour the red lotus without defeating him. He was courting death. Your opponent is me. At this moment, the palace master's aura had recovered to the early 8th grade mortal supreme. After recovering her aura, the palace master immediately rushed out and stood in front of Ningyu before the 6 ears spirit monkey did. All of you will die today. The 6-eared spirit monkey let out a hysterical roar as it engaged palatial mistress Centaurea in battle. Good chance. Seeing the palace master holding up the 6 ears spirit monkey, Ningyu's eyes lit up. He burned his blood essence to increase his speed. 1 second later, Ningyu caught up to the red lotus and devoured it. Nightmare crystal. As soon as the red lotus entered his mouth, Ningyu's face turned extremely gloomy. He had been tricked. There were 2 types of red lotus. One could increase one's cultivation and talent, while the other was the opposite. Chapter 1144. Spirit Monkeys Plot. Seeing Ningyu overestimating himself and swallowing the red lotus, 6 ears forced palace mistress Bai Hua back and let out a maniacal laugh. This is all part of your plan. Ningyu's expression was ugly to the extreme. Screwed. He had really failed miserably this time. 6 ears' intelligence was very high, to a terrifying extent. I should have known that this is the demon lord's cave abode. Why would 6 ears appear here for no reason? Ningyu gritted his teeth. That's right. 3 years ago, I came to this cave. 6 ears' brows twitched as he explained, the outer and inner arrays of the devil's cave were all broken by me. Otherwise, how could you have come here so easily? There are 2 types of red lotus. The one you swallowed will lower your talent and yuan qi. If I'm not wrong, in a few minutes, your talent will fall to the level of a quadruple prodigy. Pu. At this moment, Ningyu spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His aura dropped rapidly. Just like what 6 ears said, Ningyu's talent had fallen from the level of a quadruple prodigy, his yuan qi was depleted, and his aura was extremely weak. 6 ears, why are you doing this? Ningyu could not understand why 6 ears would ask him to swallow the red lotus for no reason. 6 ears snorted, the demon lord, that trash, set up an array. I need to find a quadruple prodigy and make him swallow the red lotus to reduce his talent to quadruple prodigy. Only then will the last stone pillar appear. The last stone pillar? Ningyu revealed a doubtful expression. Rumble. Suddenly, the ground started to cave in. When the ground sunk to a certain extent, a huge stone pillar slowly rose from the ground. The 5th stone pillar. Ningyu's heart sank to the bottom when he saw the stone pillar slowly appearing. Everything was progressing according to the 6-eared spirit monkey. The other red lotus is inside this stone pillar. Pointing at the 5th pillar, the 6-eared spirit monkey said, "You're not one of the 4 ultimate geniuses. Even if you swallow the other red lotus, it won't help." Ningyu said in a deep voice. Although I'm not one of the 4 absolute geniuses, my cultivation is at the initial 8th grade sovereign realm. As long as I can devour the red lotus in the stone pillar, I will be able to advance to the middle 8th grade sovereign realm. With a faint smile, the 6-eared spirit monkey said, "In order to repay you for helping me, I have decided to kill you." You want to kill Ningyu? The palatial lord swallowed the last herb and appeared before Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Did you ask me? As soon as she finished speaking, the palace mistress of the 100 Flowers Palace released her aura. A human supreme martial artist at the peak of the early 8th grade. After devouring so many elixirs and herbs, the palace master's aura had reached the pinnacle of the early stage 8th grade sovereign realm. Oh, you guys came prepared. The corner of the 6-eared spirit monkey's mouth rose as he said in a sinister tone, "Among the 4 of you, one is a 1st grade sovereign realm, which I can kill with a flip of my hand. Although one is a 5 ultimate genius, no, a 4 ultimate genius, his aura has dropped to the freezing point. The last one is an injured 8th grade sovereign realm." As he said this, the 6-eared spirit monkey paused for a moment before continuing, "The 3 of them are not strong enough. Only you can resist me for a while. It's good that you know." The palace mistress said in a deep voice. You think I'm afraid of you? I just want to devour the red lotus before killing you. Curling his lips, the six-eared spirit monkey made a grabbing motion and an ancient scroll appeared in his hand. Waving the scroll, the six-eared spirit monkey said, This scroll belongs to the demon lord. I kept it for this moment. Open. As the six-eared spirit monkey let out a low roar, the ancient scroll suddenly exploded. Whoosh. After the scroll exploded, a transparent barrier rose around the six-eared spirit monkey and the fifth pillar. Catcher. Inside the barrier, the six-eared spirit monkey punched the stone pillar and took out the red lotus. Before devouring the red lotus, the six-eared spirit monkey said to Ningyu and the rest, Wait here for a moment. After I devour and refine this red lotus, I will send you all to heaven. As soon as he finished speaking, the six-eared spirit monkey controlled the red lotus to float above his head. He closed his eyes and started to adjust his mental state. Before devouring the red lotus, he needed to adjust his mental state to its peak. Otherwise, the effect would be greatly reduced. For the sake of this red lotus, the six-eared spirit monkey had spent 3 whole years in the devil's cave. He did not want to make any mistakes at the most crucial moment. I need to think of a way to break the barrier and snatch the red lotus. Ningyu's face was gloomy. His mind was racing to come up with a solution. The current situation was terrible for Ningyu. The Dark Emperor and the rest were still waiting for him to return to Danwu College, but he was surrounded. Leaving aside whether he could leave the Devil's Cave, even if he could, it would be a dead end once he reached Danwu College. The experts in the pill puppet were not any weaker than the six-eared spirit monkey. Law of space, is there any way to pass through the barrier? Ningyu started to communicate with the law of space. If the law of space could pass through the barrier, he might be able to deal a fatal blow to the six-eared spirit monkey with the help of the 100 Flowers Palace Mistress. F***CK, F***CK. Ningyu couldn't help but curse after getting the answer from the law of space. Clearly, the law of space could not pass through the barrier. Sapling, if you don't answer me, I will destroy your foundation. At this critical moment, Ningyu contacted the sapling once again. Since the law of space could not pass through the barrier, the sapling was the only possibility. Therefore, Ningyu started to threaten, although you are the world tree and can produce Shenyang pills for me, if you don't help me today, everyone will be finished. Wong wong. Ningyu's threat worked. The sapling in the storage ring started to sway. You mean, there's energy underground? When the sapling started to sway, Ningyu thought that he could break through the barrier. However, as the sapling's sway accelerated, Ningyu finally understood. There was a large amount of energy underground. Not only was the sapling able to devour energy quickly, but it also had the ability to detect energy. Could it be that all the energy that the demon supremacy accumulated over the years is underground? Frowning slightly, Ningyu told the 100 Flowers Palace Mistress about this, hoping that she could check it out. The reason why Ningyu told the 100 Flowers Palace Mistress was because the 100 Flowers Palace Mistress had recovered to the early stage 8th grade human supremacy, and his aura was weak. Nothing. After checking for a few seconds, the 100 Flowers Palace Mistress shook her head. There's nothing underground. Wong wong. At this moment, the law of space also started to sway, urging Ningyu to go underground. Forget it. Since the law of space and the sapling are so excited, I'll go underground and take a look. Chapter 1145. Yuan Crystal Vein Swoosh. The ground of the Devil's Cave was extremely hard. Although he had the law of space and the sapling to open a path in front of him, Ningyu still felt that it was very strenuous. Moreover, as he went deeper underground, Ningyu found that the pressure was getting stronger. In the end, he even felt like he could not move an inch. Even with the law of space and the sapling in front of him, Ningyu still chose to stop. This place is about 5 kilometers from the surface. Why can't I even see a strand of hair? As he wrapped his body with Yuan Qi, Ningyu said, Sapling, don't F***king lie to me. Buzz buzz. Hearing Ningyu's words, the sapling continued to sway a few more times before burrowing deeper into the ground. Seeing that the sapling was moving forward, Ningyu could only follow behind it, advancing slowly. This is A royal-grade yuan crystal vein. After advancing another 1,000 meters, Ningyu's mouth was agape, a dumbfounded expression on his face. A royal-grade yuan crystal vein. In front of Ningyu, there was a huge royal-grade yuan crystal vein towering. Ningyu's eyes were burning with passion as he sent out a wisp of his perception to probe. This royal-grade yuan crystal vein in front of him had at least millions of royal-grade yuan crystals. Gulp. Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Ningyu directly stepped forward, wanting to store the yuan crystals in his storage ring. Swoosh. Swoosh. However, before Ningyu could reach the side of the yuan crystal vein, the sapling and the law of space moved quickly, arriving at the side of the yuan crystal vein before Ningyu and burrowing into the yuan crystal vein. Crack. Crack. Crisp sounds rang out continuously, and the entire yuan crystal vein began to disintegrate from the inside. The sudden change caused Ningyu's mouth to open wide. He could not even believe his eyes. Wasn't this too fast? Although he knew that the sapling and the law of space devoured energy very quickly, Ningyu was still stunned by the speed before him. In just a few seconds, the entire crystal mine had been reduced by 1%. At this rate, the crystal mine would probably be completely devoured by the sapling and the spatial laws in a few minutes. I wonder if the sapling will produce something after devouring the primordial crystal mine. Before he could finish speaking, Ningyu's eyes widened and his mouth fell open. His face was filled with confusion. At the end of the sapling, there was a shenyang pill. After devouring less than 1% of the entire yuan crystal mine, the sapling had already produced a shenyang pill. One could only imagine how many shenyang pills it would produce once it devoured the entire yuan crystal mine. Gulp. Ningyu couldn't help but swallow his saliva as he stared at the end of the sapling. Buzz. 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 As time went on, the tip of the sapling would produce a shenyang pill every once in a while. Rumble. This situation lasted for 3 minutes. When the 4th minute arrived, the entire primordial crystal mine collapsed from the inside. Let's go. Although there were still royal-grade primordial crystals in the mine that hadn't been devoured, Ningyu knew very well that staying here was no different from courting death. Furthermore, after 3 minutes of devouring, most of the royal-grade primordial crystal mine had been devoured by the sapling and the spatial laws. There wasn't much left. Ningyu didn't want to risk his life for these royal-grade primordial crystals. Furthermore, Ningyu still had to deal with the 6 ears spirit monkey. He didn't have time to waste here. After storing the sapling into his storage ring, Ningyu rushed to the surface with the spatial laws. Ningyu roughly estimated that the sapling had produced at least 10 shenyang pills in 3 minutes. Furthermore, the sapling was still producing shenyang pills continuously. Although the speed wasn't particularly fast, it was better than nothing. Bang! Before long, Ningyu dug his way out of the ground with the spatial laws. Luckily, the 6 ears spirit monkey didn't start devouring the red lotus. This is giving me a chance. Seeing that the 6-eared spirit monkey was still resting with its eyes closed, Ningyu's heart jolted and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Fart! The mouthful of fresh blood attracted the 6 ears spirit monkey's attention. Kid, do you think there's a treasure underground? I'm very familiar with the entire Devil's Cave. I've searched 5,000 meters underground, but I couldn't find anything. Glancing at Ningyu, the 6 ears spirit monkey said in disdain, I'll let you live for another half an hour. After that, I'll start devouring the red lotus. Hihi, the red lotus is a treasure. Once I devour it, I'll advance to the mid-stage 8th grade human supreme. At that time, I'll roast you guys and eat you. As the sinister laughter faded away, the 6-eared spirit monkey closed his eyes once again and began to adjust the condition of his body. Once his body was in peak condition, the 6 ears spirit monkey would start devouring the red lotus and advance to the mid-stage 8th grade human supreme. Ningyu, are you alright? Seeing that Ningyu had spat out blood, the palatial mistress and the sword of evil hurried to Ningyu's side. The palatial mistress even injected her yuan qi into Ningyu's body. I told you that there's nothing underground, but you didn't listen. The palatial mistress grumbled as she transferred her yuan qi to Ningyu. Swish. At this moment, Ningyu flicked his sleeves and a storage bag flew out and landed in the palatial mistress's sleeve. What? The palatial mistress opened her mouth and wanted to say something. However, she stopped after seeing Ningyu's gaze. SSS. The palatial mistress sent a portion of her soul power into the storage bag and opened her mouth again. There are 5 Shengyang pills in there. I hope you won't disappoint me. With that, Ningyu ignored the palatial mistress and threw another storage bag to the Sword of Evil. There are 10 Shengyang pills in there. Can you recover to your peak condition in half an hour? Ningyu paused for a moment before adding, what I mean is, can I recover to the pinnacle 8th grade human supreme? I can't do it in half an hour. If there are 15 Shengyang pills, I can do it. The Sword of Evil didn't ask where Ningyu got the Shengyang pills from. Swish. Without another word, Ningyu threw another storage bag to the Sword of Evil. There are 5 Shengyang pills in there. I'll give you half an hour. No problem. After obtaining another 5 Shengyang pills, the Sword of Evil let out a fervent expression as he hurriedly brought the storage bag to a corner and started devouring the Shengyang pills. As for Ningyu, he took out a Shengyang pill carefully and tossed it into his mouth to chew. Because of the barrier and the fact that Ningyu had sealed the aura of the Shengyang pill appropriately, the 6-ears spirit monkey did not realize how terrifying the Shengyang pill was. In the eyes of the 6-ears spirit monkey, the Shengyang pill was just an ordinary elixir. Catcher. After swallowing a Shengyang pill, Ningyu channeled the spirit transformation technique and started devouring rapidly. Almost every second that passed, Ningyu's aura would strengthen a little. Bam! Chapter 1146. Recovery of the 5 Ultimate Kid. I'll start devouring the Red Lotus now. Hold on for a few more minutes. It'll be your death in a few more minutes. Half an hour later, not only did Ningyu recover to his peak state, even 6-ears had adjusted his mental state to its peak. The 6-eared spirit monkey, who was in his best condition, stretched out his right hand and grabbed the red lotus above his head. He said in a sinister tone, "Fortunately, you didn't get this red lotus. Otherwise, if you had gotten it, your cultivation would have advanced to 3rd grade human sovereign and become one of the 5 absolute geniuses. 3rd grade human supreme, one of the 5 ultimate geniuses. TSK, you can even kill me then. What's the point of me playing? That's right. You can't play anymore." Ningyu's eyes lit up as he said, 6-eared monkey, I will give you one last chance. Open the barrier and throw the red lotus over. Or else, this day next year will be your death anniversary. This day next year will be my death anniversary? The 6-eared spiritual monkey was slightly stunned. He pointed at his own nose and said, "Have you lost your mind? Or is there something wrong with your brain?" Rumble. Rumble. Before the 6-eared spirit monkey could finish his sentence, 2 terrifying auras shot up into the sky from afar. What? Feeling the 2 soaring auras, the 6-eared spirit monkey's mouth was agape as he stood rooted to the spot. Advanced 8th grade human supreme, peak 8th grade human supreme. Of the 2 auras, one was at the advanced 8th grade human supreme and the other was at the peak 8th grade human supreme. It was obvious that the one with the advanced 8th grade human supreme was the Palace Master and the one with the peak 8th grade human supreme was the Sword of Evil. The Palace Master devoured 5 Shengyang pills and recovered to the peak 8th grade human supreme. The Sword of Evil devoured 15 Shengyang pills and recovered to the peak 8th grade human supreme. This is impossible. The eyes of the 6-eared spirit monkey were filled with despair. He was only an early 8th grade human supreme, but there were 2 supremes who were much stronger than him. What could he do? Moreover, even if he devoured the red lotus, he wouldn't be able to fight against the Palace Master and the Sword of Evil. That's right, quickly devour the red lotus. The 6-ears spirit monkey was not a fool. On the contrary, he had a very high IQ. He knew that the only way for him to escape unscathed was to devour the red lotus and raise his cultivation to the 8th grade middle human supreme realm. Then, he could use a secret technique to escape. Otherwise, it would be hard for him to escape death today. Go. The 6-eared spirit monkey's idea was perfect, but the reality made him feel despair. Ningyu would never allow a treasure like the red lotus to fall into the hands of 6-ears spiritual monkey. As Ningyu bellowed, the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Bai Hua moved quickly and arrived before the barrier in an instant. Bang! Bang! Each of them threw a punch at the barrier at the same time. Catcher. Although the barrier set up by the six-eared spirit monkey was very strong, it posed no problem to the Sword of Evil and Palatial Lord Centaurea flowers. With a cracking sound, the barrier shattered. The Sword of Evil and Palatial Mistress Centaurea arrived beside the six-eared spirit monkey, one on the left and one on the right. The Sword of Evil and Palatial Mistress Centaurea flowers did not attack the six-eared spirit monkey immediately. Instead, they unleashed their powerful aura, suppressing the six-eared spirit monkey to the ground. Swish! Ningyu reacted quickly and caught the red lotus before it fell to the ground. Using a wisp of soul power to check the red lotus, Ningyu carefully placed it in his mouth after confirming that there was nothing wrong with it. Buzz! As the red lotus entered his stomach, Ningyu felt a warm sensation forming in his stomach and spreading continuously. This situation was clearly out of Ningyu's expectations. I didn't expect the red lotus to be so effective. In the beginning, Ningyu was still a little doubtful about whether the red lotus could help him advance to the third-grade mortal supreme realm. Now, it seemed like he was overthinking it. Not only could the red lotus allow him to advance to the third-grade mortal supreme realm, it could also improve his physique, allowing him to recover from the 4 ultimate geniuses to the 5 ultimate geniuses. At the thought of this, Ningyu felt a little angry. If not for the six-ears spirit monkey misleading him into swallowing the fake red lotus, it was highly possible that his talent would have risen to the level of the 6 ultimate geniuses. Now, it seemed like he had only risen his cultivation from the second-grade mortal supreme realm to the third-grade mortal supreme realm, and his talent was still that of the 5 ultimate geniuses. Peng peng peng. Continuous muffled sounds rang out in his body. Ningyu chose to endure the soreness all over his body and worked hard to refine the energy in his body. While Ningyu was refining the energy, the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Bai Hua had already taken control of the six-ears spirit monkey. The 8 initial stage mortal supreme realm six-ears spirit monkey was no match for Palace Master Bai Hua and the Sword of Evil. Frightened by the Sword of Evil and the rest, the six-ears spirit monkey covered his head with both hands and chose to surrender. However, the Sword of Evil already knew of the six-ears spirit monkey's craftiness, so he took the initiative to get rid of the six-ears spirit monkey's cultivation. The current six-eared spirit monkey did not even have the strength to truss a chicken. Any true martial realm martial artist could easily defeat him. Drip, drip. Time ticked by, and in the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. Ningyu opened his eyes and slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Third stage mortal supreme realm. At this moment, Ningyu had advanced from second stage mortal supreme realm to third stage mortal supreme realm, and had even recovered to the level of one of the 5 absolute geniuses. In other words, with Ningyu's current cultivation and strength, it would not be difficult for him to deal with an ordinary 8th stage mortal supreme realm cultivator. His strength had increased by several fold. This trip to the Devil's Cave was a blessing in disguise. Ningyu was very satisfied with the increase in his cultivation. Before entering the Devil's Cave, he had to be extremely careful when he encountered a peak 7th stage mortal supreme realm cultivator. Now, even if he encountered an 8th stage mortal supreme realm cultivator, he could do whatever he wanted. As long as it was not an 8th stage mortal supreme realm cultivator, Ningyu could almost kill them in an instant. Bring the six-ears spirit monkey over. Retracting his aura, Ningyu said in a deep voice. Sho. The Sword of Evil escorted the six-ears spirit monkey to Ningyu's side. Don't kill me. If you kill me, you definitely won't be able to leave the Devil's Cave. In the face of death, the six-ears spirit monkey seemed to be in despair and said hurriedly. After advancing to third stage mortal supreme realm, Ningyu's perception had increased by a lot. Ningyu noticed that the six-ears spirit monkey's right hand was quietly placed behind his back, and a glint of light appeared in his eyes. Trying to scheme against me. The corners of his mouth curled up, and Ningyu waved his hand and said, Sword of Evil, release the six-ears spirit monkey. I have a few questions for him. All right. To be honest, the Sword of Evil had indeed tried to break the seal of the Devil's Cave. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, he could not break it. Danwu College was still in dire straits. If he were to be trapped in the devil's cave now, the consequences would be unimaginable. Tell me, how do I break the devil's cave? Don't try to play tricks with me. In the face of absolute strength, all schemes are useless. Chapter 1147. Back to Danwoo College. A good chance. Seeing that Ningyu had let down his guard, Six Ears felt that his chance had come. However, to ensure that nothing went wrong, Six Ears did not attack immediately. Instead, he said honestly, "Actually, breaking open the devil's cave is very simple. All you have to do is focus all your attacks on a single point, a point the size of a palm. That is the only way to break open the devil's cave. That's it." Ningyu's mouth was slightly agape as he asked in confusion. Nodding, Six Ears said, "That's it. There are no shortcuts. All right, Sword of Evil, Palace Mistress Bai Hua, you two try to break open the same point. Me and Elder Dong. Forget it, Elder Dong and I will attack as well. If we cannot break open the cave, we will have to attack again." Ningyu seemed to be in a dilemma. As he spoke, he changed his mind and walked towards the blocked exit. Ningyu's speed was not too fast. When he passed by Six Ears, he paused for a moment. Go. Just as Ningyu was 10 feet away from Six Ears suddenly swung his right hand. Swoosh. In an instant, a cold gleam shot out and shot towards Ningyu at an astonishing speed. Kai Kai. The speed of the cold gleam was so fast that the surrounding air began to emit a hissing sound and tremble. Courting death. Before the cold gleam could reach Ningyu's body gradually disappeared. A low roar sounded in the six-eared spirit monkey's ears. Not good. Hearing the low shout, the six-eared spirit monkey's eyes widened and his pupils constricted. Poochie. However, it was too late for Six Ears to regret his actions now. Ningyu quickly appeared beside him, drew out the red demon sword and pierced it into his heart. Looking down at the red flying sword in his heart, Six Ears opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something. However, before he could say anything, his body collapsed to the ground. At this moment, the six-eared spirit monkey, who was at the early stage 8th grade human supreme realm, was completely dead. Sword of Evil, Palace Master 100 Flowers, there's no time to lose. Hurry up and attack with all your might. With no time to care about six-eared spirit monkey, Ningyu rushed to the exit of the area and punched the stone wall. Boom, boom, boom. Seeing Ningyu attack, the Sword of Evil, Palace Master Centaurea, and even Dong he attacked with all their might, not daring to hold back. The people of Danwoo College were still waiting for them to rescue them. Being trapped in the Devil's Cave at this time was a very frustrating thing. Bang! 4 consecutive terrifying fists bombarded the narrow area. In an instant, the cave began to shake. Moreover, the shaking became more and more intense, to the point where it was terrifying. The cave is about to collapse. Everyone, be careful. Ningyu said in a deep voice, when the time comes, Sword of Evil will bring Elder Dong, Palace Master Centaurea, and I will leave the Devil's Cave together. We will head for Danwoo College at full speed. Understood. The Sword of Evil and the rest replied in unison. Yuan Qi surged around them. The Sword of Evil and the rest were ready. Once the Devil's Cave was broken, they would leave immediately. Ha ha ha. At the same time, in the capital, Danwoo College. In the midst of death, Wu Hai's eyes flashed with a cold light. The Yuan Qi in his body continuously attacked the 100 Flowers array around him. Ka. The 100 Flowers array, which was originally full of defense, let out a cracking sound as it was attacked by Wu Hai's powerful Yuan Qi. It looked like it was about to break. With a maniacal laugh, Wu Hai threw out several punches, each one landing on the 100 Flowers array. After being bombarded by so many punches from Wu Hai, the already unstable 100 Flower formation completely collapsed with a loud rumble. Purple Gold Sky Devouring Hound. The first thing that Wu Hai did after leaving the 100 Flower array was to come before the Dark Emperor and eerily said, "You devoured the late phase 7th grade sovereign Hua Lei, so I'll let you experience the feeling of being devoured by someone else." Oh, right. I won't devour you directly. I'll roast you and enjoy you slowly. Me. Ningyu will be back soon. When he returns, It will be the time of your death. The Dark Emperor snorted. Haha, Ningyu is nothing. He's just a mere second-grade human sovereign. I can kill him with a flip of my hand. Wu Hai curled his lips and smiled. You better pray that Ningyu doesn't come. Otherwise, I'll let him know the meaning of cruelty. Wu Hai, the sea of bitterness has no bounds. Repent and you'll be saved. The talisman supremacy said faintly. Are you sure you're talking to me? Wu Hai knitted his brows and hesitated. Although you're an 8th grade middle phase human sovereign with powerful strength, I still have to tell you that even if you can kill us today, you will be killed by someone else tomorrow. The talisman sovereign spoke without any joy or sorrow on his face. Since when did you become a Buddhist? Wu Hai asked. Forget it. I'll kill all of you first before tidying up this area to prevent any unforeseen events. Wu Hai shook his head. In a few minutes, the Eastern Expedition Army will break through the seal and descend upon this courtyard. I have to prepare to welcome them. Whoosh. As he spoke, Wu Hai stomped on the ground and his figure darted forth. Wu Hai's speed was so fast that he was only an afterimage in the eyes of the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Supremacy. Fight. Seeing that Wu Hai was about to arrive before them, the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Supremacy yelled. Fight. Before me, Wu Hai, no matter how you fight, there's no chance of survival. The corner of Wu Hai's lips rose as he clenched his right fist and threw it towards the Dark Emperor's head. This punch of Wu Hai's was extremely powerful and heavy, containing extremely terrifying yuan qi fluctuations. As the Dark Emperor had yet to refine Hua Lei in his body, he did not have much battle prowess at the moment. It was best to describe him as powerless. It's over. Seeing Wu Hai attacking the Dark Emperor with all his might, Mu Feng's heart sank to the bottom. Mu Feng wanted to help the Dark Emperor, but he was too weak. He hadn't even reached the Sovereign Realm, and Wu Hai could kill him with a single breath. Are we really going to die? What? Mu Feng yelled out. However, Mu Feng's yell came to an abrupt halt. Mu Feng saw that the Dark Emperor seemed to be being hugged by something and was quickly retreating to another area. Who is it? Who's sneaking around? Come out. The sudden change caused Wu Hai's face to change as he reprimanded. How could Wu Hai not be angry that he lost his prey? The Dark Emperor was a purple-gold sky-devouring hound. As long as he could kill and roast the Dark Emperor, his strength could improve a little. But now, before he could even strike the Dark Emperor was rescued by an unknown person. As you wish. Just as Wu Hai reprimanded, an indifferent voice came from the void. Whoosh. Chapter 1148. Investigation, damn it. Wu Hai cursed in his heart at the critical moment. He clenched his right fist and pushed it out. Swish. Swish. After the fists collided, the two figures quickly retreated. Ningyu. Stabilizing himself, Wu Hai looked at the familiar figure in front of him with an extremely ugly expression. Grade 3 Human Supreme Realm. Wu Hai realized that Ningyu's cultivation had already reached Grade 3 Human Supreme Realm. Ningyu was a genius of the 5 absolute geniuses. Coupled with his Grade 3 Human Supreme Realm cultivation, didn't that mean that his strength was on par with his own? Whoosh. Right at this moment, the space suddenly split open, and 2 more figures appeared in this area. Hiss. Looking at the 2 figures that suddenly appeared, Wu Hai couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. His heart sank to the bottom. Sword of Evil, Palace Master Centaurea. Be it the Sword of Evil or Palace Master Centaurea, the terrifying aura that they emitted far surpassed his. Who the hell is telling me what's going on with this world? Wu Hai had the urge to curse. It was one thing for Ningyu to advance from Grade 2 Human Supreme Realm to Grade 3 Human Supreme Realm, but what was going on with the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Centaurea? One was a late Grade 8 Human Supreme Realm, while the other was a peak Grade 8 Human Supreme Realm. Wu Hai's cultivation was only at the intermediate Grade 8 Human Supreme Realm. It was already difficult for him to kill Ningyu, not to mention the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Centaurea. The seal will be broken in 5 minutes. By then, the main forces of the pro-war faction will arrive. I have to hold on for 5 minutes no matter what. Clenching his fists, Wu Hai made up his mind. Hold on for 5 minutes. As long as he could hold on for 5 minutes, it would be the time of Ning Yu's death when the pro-war faction's higher-ups arrive. Thinking about it, Wu Hai sorted out his thoughts and said without any change in his expression, Ning Yu, although I have no idea how you managed to advance to 3rd grade sovereign realm, I can only tell you that you're too naive if you think that you can deal with me just like that. I don't need you to judge whether I'm naive or not, Ning Yu said lightly. Ha ha ha. Throwing his head back and laughing maniacally, Wu Hai coldly said, I know you want to kill me. I'll give you a chance to kill me now. Have a fair duel with me. As long as you win, I'll be at your mercy. I'm not interested in dead people. After saying this, Ning Yu walked towards the Dark Emperor without looking back. The Dark Emperor was still enduring the pain of being unable to refine the energy in his body. Ning Yu needed to help him refine the energy as soon as possible. Furthermore, the Dark Emperor was a 2nd grade sovereign realm cultivator. According to Ning Yu's estimation, once he helped the Dark Emperor completely refine the energy in his body, there was a high chance that the Dark Emperor would advance to 3rd grade sovereign realm. A purple-gold sky-devouring hound at 3rd grade sovereign realm wasn't any weaker than some of the 5 absolute geniuses. I was wondering how powerful you were. So it turns out that you're just a wax figure with a silver spear. Nice to look at but useless. Seeing Ning Yu leave, Wu Hai coldly snorted. Swish. Just as Wu Hai's cold words landed, the Sword of Evil's figure flashed and appeared before him. What are you trying to do? Wu Hai's heart skipped a beat, but he remained calm on the surface. Poochie. The Sword of Evil didn't waste time with Wu Hai. He instantly unleashed his aura and suppressed Wu Hai. Being suppressed by the Sword of Evil's terrifying aura, Wu Hai opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Compared to the Sword of Evil, Wu Hai's cultivation was 2 grades lower. A difference of 2 grades between an 8th grade sovereign realm cultivator and an 8th grade sovereign realm cultivator was almost impossible to overcome. Furthermore, Wu Hai wasn't even an absolute genius. He was just an ordinary 8th grade sovereign pill puppet. Facing Wu Hai's terrifying aura, he couldn't withstand it at all. Sword of Evil, find a way to force the pill puppet to reveal the exact location to open the pill cave. Then, you and Palace Master Bai Hua will reinforce the seal at that location. Although Ning Yu was helping the Dark Emperor refine the energy in his body, Ning Yu didn't forget his objective this time. He had to seal the pill cavern so that the pill puppet army could not escape from it. Understood. Actually, even without Ning Yu's reminder, the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Bai Hua knew what to do. Palace Master Bai Hua unleashed her perception and carefully probed the ground. As for the Sword of Evil, he started interrogating Wu Hai. Faced with the Sword of Evil's interrogation, Wu Hai only lasted for a minute before he was defeated. Wu Hai was very clear that he had to tell the truth whether he wanted to or not. When one's cultivation reached their level, not only would there be no problems, they could even use a secret technique to extract one's memories. Having one's memories extracted was a very painful thing. Those with weaker endurance might even die on the spot. Wu Hai didn't wish to die. He didn't last long before he told the Sword of Evil everything. Let's go. After crippling Wu Hai's cultivation, the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Bai Hua exchanged glances before burrowing into the ground. As for Ning Yu, he didn't follow. With the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Bai Hua taking action, Ning Yu was more or less at ease. At this moment, Ning Yu was doing his best to help the Dark Emperor refine the energy in his body. Fart. Due to the fact that Ning Yu had advanced to grade 3 sovereign, the energy that would have taken a long time to refine for the Dark Emperor was only refined in a few minutes. After the energy was completely refined, the Dark Emperor let out a long sigh with excitement on his face. 3rd grade human supreme, the Dark Emperor was originally a peak 2nd grade human supreme. After refining the energy in his body, he directly advanced to 3rd grade human supreme. A purple gold sky devouring hound at 3rd grade human supreme was extremely terrifying. Even Ning Yu felt a little fearful when facing the Dark Emperor. Dark Emperor, are you able to kill a 7th grade sovereign now? Ning Yu asked with a frown. Ning Yu needed to have a clear understanding of the Dark Emperor's fighting strength. That way, he could arrange a suitable opponent for the Dark Emperor in the future. 7th grade Human Supreme? Aren't you underestimating me too much? The Dark Emperor curled his lips and said in disdain, "Let me put it this way. If I face Hua Lei again, I can kill him with a flip of my hand. Hua Lei is a late 7th grade Human Supreme, but you're only a 3rd grade Human Supreme." Ningyu frowned and said doubtfully, "So what if I'm a late 7th grade Human Supreme? To tell you the truth, I'm equivalent to one of the 5 ultimate geniuses." The Dark Emperor said proudly, "I can defeat a martial artist like you with a wave of my hand." As the word defeat fell, the Dark Emperor's figure flashed and appeared in front of Ningyu in the blink of an eye. His tail swept towards Ningyu's chest. This move of the Dark Emperor was several times stronger than when he was a 2nd grade human sovereign. Ningyu couldn't help but take such a terrifying attack seriously. "Let me try, retreat." Ningyu clenched his right fist and was about to throw a punch when he shouted. At the same time, Ningyu's fist punched towards another part of the void. "Ah!" A hysterical scream came from the void. Chapter 1149. The army breaks the seal. The sudden change caused the Dark Emperor to be slightly stunned, and then a look of shock appeared on his face. Late 7th grade Human Supreme Martial Artist. The grey-robed elder's cultivation was at the late phase 7th grade sovereign realm. From the grey-robed old man's state, one could tell how powerful Ningyu's punch was. Hualala. Just as Ningyu was about to attack the grey-robed old man a second time, the void suddenly split open and several figures descended. Looking at the sudden appearance of several figures, including the Dark Emperor, even Ningyu's heart sank to the bottom. Danny. The figures that descended from the courtyard were all Dan puppet. The one with the lowest cultivation was the grey-robed old man who was severely injured by Ningyu's punch. That also meant that the other pill puppets were all late 7th grade human sovereigns or above. At the very front, Ningyu even found 2 Dan puppets at the peak of the 8th grade human supreme stage. Ha ha ha. Raising his head and laughing, one of the peak 8th grade human supreme stage Dan puppets said, "The other batch of Dan puppets really have *T in their heads. We are Dan puppets, and our main mission is to devour energy. Instead of fighting in the pill cave, why don't we start sweeping through the human world?" The one who spoke was a pinnacle 8th grade human sovereign called Wei Jiyu. His cultivation was only a step away from the 9th grade human sovereign realm, and he was the leader of the dozen pellet puppets. The old man beside Wei Jiyu was called Chen He. His strength was slightly weaker than Wei Jiyu, but his cultivation had also reached the pinnacle of the 8th grade sovereign realm. "Before wiping them out, I suggest that we work together to kill those 2 human experts," Chen He said with a slight frown. "Don't worry, with the 8 Desolation Demon trapping formation, I believe the 2 of them will be able to," waving his hand, Wei Jiyu said. Evidently, Wei Jiyu thought very highly of the 8 Desolation Demon trapping formation. Rumble. However, before Wei Jiyu could finish speaking, his pupils shrank and he rapidly retreated. That was because he discovered that the void had split apart once again, and the corpses of 8 early 8th grade human supreme Dan Kai fell from the void. Bang bang bang, as more and more voices rang out, Wei Gu's complexion grew uglier and uglier. Whoosh, whoosh. When all 8 corpses fell to the ground, 2 more figures landed beside Ningyu and the Dark Emperor. Sword Evil Supremacy, 100 Flowers Palace Master. The next 2 figures to appear were the Palace Master of the 100 Flowers Palace and the Sword Fiend Supremacy. However, their mental states were clearly a little weak, and their strength was not at its peak. Dan 7 Desolation Formation. 8 Demonic Ancient 8 Human Supreme Demon. By the time we found the location of the seal, the pill puppets had already broken the seal and laid down the 8 Desolation Demon trapping formation. They used 8 8th grade human sovereign realm pill puppets to guard the formation, intending to kill all of us. 898 Emperor Star Dan, Void Emperor 8, 7 of 2 200,000 Translator, Editor Dragon, Editor 7 of 8. Demonic 2 Demonic 2 Demonic. Apart from the safety of the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master, Ningyu was also concerned about their remaining strength. Wei Jiyu and Chen He were both pinnacle 8th grade human sovereigns. If the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master didn't have much strength left, then everyone might die today. Unless we have 5 more Shenyang pills, we won't be able to unleash our peak strength. The Sword of Evil gritted his teeth. Give me 10 Shenyang pills. I can deal with the leader of the elixir pit. Palatial Lord Centuria's words were simple and clear. She didn't beat around the bush as she directly asked for 10 Shenyang pills. I'll give you 15 Shenyang pills. Ningyu knew the severity of the situation. He took out 2 interspatial pouches and threw them to the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master. After receiving the interspatial pouches, the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master threw the interspatial pouches into their mouths. Seeing the actions of the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master, Ningyu's lips twitched. Even Wei Jiyu and Chen his faces were filled with black lines. Eat interspatial pouches? No matter how hungry you are, you shouldn't eat interspatial pouches. Chen He, those 2 cultivators were injured by the 8 Desolation Demon trapping formation. I'll leave them to you. Wei Jiyu said in a deep voice, I'll give you 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, I don't want to see any survivors. Understood. Chen He was well aware of the power of the 8 Desolation Demon trapping formation. Even if the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master broke the formation, they would definitely be heavily injured. In other words, he could kill the Sword of Evil and the others with a flip of his hand. Swish. Stepping on the ground, Chen He's body burst out and arrived before the Sword of Evil in an instant. Clenching his right fist, Chen He punched towards the Sword of Evil's head. The might of Chen He's fist was extremely powerful, and it was practically his strongest fist at this stage. Facing such a powerful fist, the Sword of Evil's eyes flashed as he punched out with his right hand. Bang! 2 fists containing terrifying Yuan Qi collided with each other in front of everyone. A clear sound rang out in the area. Soon after, 2 figures rapidly retreated. Chen He and the Sword of Evil were evenly matched in this fist. Impossible. After that exchange, Chen He's eyes widened as disbelief filled his face. He never imagined that he, a pinnacle 8th grade sovereign, wouldn't be able to defeat the heavily injured Sword of Evil. The more Chen He thought about it, the more shocked he became. In the end, he was even stunned on the spot. Fortunately, Wei Gu's cold snort had snapped Chen He out of his daze. You can't even defeat a heavily injured human. It looks like the resources that the Eastern Punitive Army has spent on you weren't worth it. After a cold snort, Wei Jiyu said in a solemn voice, go and receive all the pill puppets of the pro-war faction. Try to achieve 0 casualties. Due to the obstruction of the other faction, the seal had been broken, but it was still very dangerous. The pill puppets with cultivations lower than 5th grade sovereign couldn't come out of the seal. Even if their cultivation had reached 5th grade sovereign, they would still require a 8th grade sovereign to receive them if they wanted to come out. As a result, although the seal had been broken, only a dozen pill puppets were able to come out. The majority of them were trapped on the other side of the seal. Yes. Chen He responded and fiercely glared at the Sword of Evil. Shortly after, his figure gradually turned illusory and quickly disappeared. I'm very curious about what was in the storage pouch that you guys devoured. Crossing his arms before his chest, Wei Jiyu coldly said, I'll give you guys a chance. Tell me what's in the storage pouch, and I can consider sparing your lives. I'll let you guys join the Pill Puppets army and become their dogs. Otherwise, Wei Jiyu paused for a brief moment before his cold voice resounded throughout the area. You guys will know what cruelty is, and why flowers are so red. I don't even need to use 50% of my strength to kill you guys. Chapter 1150. A pushover. Whether we're at the end of our rope or not, we'll only know after we try. The Sword of Evil's face was emotionless as he spoke. Although the Sword of Evil looked calm on the surface, he was extremely cautious in his heart, not daring to let down his guard. Although he had recovered to his peak after taking the Shenyang pellet, the Sword of Evil still didn't have much confidence against Wei Jiyu. Wei Jiyu was the leader of the pellet puppets, possessing a cultivation of pinnacle 8th grade sovereign. Refusing a toast only to drink a forfeit. With a cold snort, Wei Jiyu coldly spoke, leave those 2 8th grade sovereign realm sovereigns to me. As for the rest, kill without mercy. Whoosh. Along with Wei Gu's words, the dozen pellet puppets behind him charged out like a swarm of locusts. The lowest cultivation of these pill puppets was at the late 7th grade human supreme realm. Their goal was very clear: to kill Ningyu, the Dark Emperor, the Talisman Marshal Venerable, as well as Dong He and Mu Feng, who had yet to retreat. A dozen Dan Kai, whose cultivation was at least at the late 7th grade human sovereign realm, against 5 humans whose cultivation was only at the 5th grade human sovereign realm. No matter how one looked at it, Dan Kai should have won. Venerable Talisman Marshal, bring Dong He and Mu Feng to the side. Leave this to me and the Dark Emperor. With a grave expression, Ningyu took a step forward and stood in front of Venerable Talisman Marshal. Dark Emperor, there's a total of 16 pellet puppets. We'll take 8 each. Ha ha ha, just 8 trash pellet puppets. No problem. The Dark Emperor charged out with a loud laugh. After advancing to 3rd grade sovereign realm, the Dark Emperor's strength had grown by leaps and bounds. What was more frightening was that the Dark Emperor was already equivalent to one of the 5 absolute geniuses. 3rd grade human sovereign realm geniuses of the 5 absolute geniuses could easily contend against ordinary 8th grade human sovereigns, or even kill them. Furthermore, of the 8 pellet puppets fighting the Dark Emperor, 6 were pinnacle 7th grade sovereigns, while the remaining 2 were early 8th grade sovereigns. Although this force was a little troublesome for the Dark Emperor, that was all. In the exchange of blows, the Dark Emperor still gained the upper hand. Comparatively speaking, Ningyu was under a lot more pressure. Of the 8 Dan puppets that fought with Ningyu, 4 were peak 7th grade human supremes, 2 early 8th grade human supremes, and even 2 middle 8th grade human supreme. Fortunately, I have advanced to grade 3 human sovereign. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to escape death today. Ningyu felt a little lucky. If he was only a grade 2 human supreme, even if he was one of the 5 absolute geniuses, it would be useless. With the red demon sword in hand, Ningyu charged into the pill puppet. Every strike of his sword contained a terrifying wave of vital energy as he slashed at the pill puppet. Rumble. Initially, the 8 elixir puppets did not place Ningyu in their eyes. After all, the weakest among them was a pinnacle 7th grade sovereign. But as time passed, these Dans found out that they were wrong, very wrong. Ningyu was a freak. His strength could not be measured by cultivation. These Dan puppets had fought for a long time, but they had never seen a 3rd grade human supremacy human who could display such powerful combat strength. Poochie. Just when these Dan puppets were stunned, Ningyu seized the opportunity and stabbed a pinnacle 7th grade human supremacy Dan puppet in the heart. The pinnacle 7th grade human supremacy Dan puppet opened his mouth, but before he could say anything, his eyes rolled back and he died on the spot. Wang. After this Dan puppet died, Ningyu controlled the red demon sword and devoured him in the blink of an eye. Hiss. The sudden change caused the expressions of the remaining 7 Dan puppets that were fighting with Ningyu to change slightly. All of them sucked in a breath of cold air. One move. With just one move, Ningyu could kill a pinnacle 7th grade human supremacy Dan puppet. With such terrifying combat strength, who could stand against him? Go all out. No matter how strong he is, there's only one of us, while there are 7 of us. Among the 7 Dan puppets, one of the middle 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppets said coldly. Swish. Swish. As the gloomy words fell, 2 middle 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet charged out. Their target was Ningyu. Law of space, it's time to show your power. Looking at the 2 middle 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet approaching him, Ningyu narrowed his eyes and his body gradually turned illusory. What's going on? Ningyu's sudden disappearance caused the 2 middle 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet to stop in their tracks. They hurriedly used their perception to detect Ningyu's specific location. Just at this moment, 3 screams that sounded like pigs being slaughtered rang out. 3 pinnacle 7th grade human supremacy Dan puppets had died in battle. In just a few minutes, Ningyu had already killed 4 pinnacle 7th grade human supremacy Dan puppets. Wang. After succeeding, Ningyu controlled the law of space and appeared again. 4 left. Staring at the remaining 4 Dan puppets, Ningyu's expression turned slightly solemn. The remaining 4 Dan puppets were all 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppets. 2 of them had even reached middle 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet. Turning his head to look at the Dark Emperor's battle and the Sword of Evil's situation, Ningyu's heart sank. Whether it was the Dark Emperor or the Sword of Evil, the situation was not looking good. Initially, the Dark Emperor had the upper hand. However, as time passed, the Dark Emperor began to show signs of decline. If this continued, the Dark Emperor's defeat was only a matter of time. The Sword of Evil and the Palace Master Centaurea weren't any better. Wei Yigu's cultivation had reached pinnacle 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet. Even the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master Centaurea couldn't contend against him. The Dark Emperor should be able to hold on for another hour. As for the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master Centaurea, they can only hold on for half an hour at most. Ningyu knew what he had to do. He had to get rid of the enemies before him as soon as possible before helping the Sword of Evil. Once the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master Centaurea were heavily injured, not only would they die today, even Danwu College would face a calamity. Brat, you're finished. No one in this world can save you. Seeing their comrade killed, the remaining 4 Dan puppets reprimanded in unison. Noisy. With a cold snort, Ningyu's body disappeared once again. Not good. Attack everywhere. As soon as Ningyu disappeared, an early 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet shouted. However, not long after he shouted, his body fell backward like a kite with a broken string. Bang! His body slammed heavily against the wall. Fart! Fresh blood spurted out, and the aura of the Dan puppet plummeted. You. Stretching out his right hand, the early 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet opened his mouth wide. He wanted to say something but couldn't utter a word. Swish. Then, the early 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet's head tilted to the side and he died on the spot. It's your turn. After killing the early 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet, Ningyu didn't stop. Instead, he stomped on the ground and charged forward at an even faster speed. Pick the soft persimmon first. Chapter 1151. Split up. Fart. Plans could never keep up with the changes. Before Ningyu could make a move against the early grade 8 human supreme Dan puppet, something happened on the battlefield beside him. Fighting 1 against 8, the Dark Emperor finally managed to kill 4 pinnacle 7th grade Sovereign Realm pellet puppets. However, the remaining 4 pellet puppets seized the opportunity and struck their bodies. Each of the 4 Dan puppets landed a punch on the Dark Emperor's body. Even though the Dark Emperor was a amethyst gold heaven devouring hound with an exceptionally strong physique, he could not take it. Fresh blood splattered all over the ground as the Dark Emperor's face darkened. I've just advanced to grade 3 human supreme Dan and my cultivation isn't stable yet. The Dark Emperor was vexed. If he had known this would happen, he would have asked Ningyu for a few Shenyang pills. Otherwise, things wouldn't have turned out this way. Here. Just then, a loud yell rang out. Swoosh. Along with that yell, a storage bag flew over. Who? My Dark Emperor. Even though he was severely injured, the Dark Emperor turned his head swiftly and hollered. However, before the Dark Emperor's reprimanding voice had finished, he cursed. That was because he realized that the storage bag that was flying towards him was thrown out by Ningyu. Shenyang pills. The Dark Emperor's senses were extremely strong and he could easily tell that the storage bag contained Shenyang pills. Piak. With swift reflexes, the Dark Emperor grabbed the storage bag and swallowed it along with the storage bag just like the Sword of Evil and the others. The Dark Emperor's actions had Ningyu's face filled with black lines. One had to know that he had thrown 3 Shenyang pills to the Dark Emperor. Could the Dark Emperor handle 3 Shenyang pills at the same time? Indeed, Ningyu's worries were not unfounded. A second after the Dark Emperor swallowed the storage bag, he let out a tragic cry like a pig being slaughtered. Ha ha ha. From the moment Ningyu threw the storage bag to the moment the Dark Emperor swallowed it and let out a tragic cry, it only took a second. When the Dark Emperor let out a tragic cry, the 7 surviving Dan puppets burst into laughter. What are you laughing at? The Dark Emperor's expression changed very quickly. A second ago, he was screaming in pain, but in the next second, his expression changed completely. Ningyu and I are working together. Why aren't you 7 pieces of trash kneeling down and kowtowing to admit your mistakes? Once we make a move, you won't be able to escape. Only death awaits you. The Dark Emperor rolled his eyes and looked at the 7 pill puppets as though he was looking at dead people. The remaining 7 pill puppets were not weak. 2 of them were intermediate 8th grade human supremes, 3 of them were early 8th grade human supremes, and 2 of them were peak 7th grade human supremes. The Dan puppet at the pinnacle of the 7th grade sovereign realm was negligible. Be it Ningyu or the Dark Emperor, both of them could be easily killed. The only troublesome pill puppets were the 2 8th grade middle stage human supreme venerables. With the 2 of them working together, both Ningyu and the Dark Emperor found it very strenuous. Dark Emperor, I'll deal with the 2 8th grade middle stage pill puppets. I'll leave the remaining 5 to you. Ningyu knew that the Dark Emperor had not completely stabilized yet. Thus, after saying this, he immediately rushed out and attracted the attention of the 2 8th grade middle stage pill puppets. Wait for me for 10 minutes. The Dark Emperor knew that Ningyu was doing this for his own good. He silently thought this sentence in his heart. Then, he quickly swept his tail and turned into an afterimage as he rushed out. Brat, I really admire you. You actually dare to fight with us. The 2 8th grade middle stage pill puppets looked at each other and saw the anger in each other's eyes. Although that was what they said, the 2 8th grade middle stage pill puppets didn't think so. Admire Ningyu? To hell with it. They couldn't wait to kill Ningyu as soon as possible. 16 pill puppets with the lowest cultivation being peak 7th grade human supremes were actually unable to kill 2 3rd grade human supremes and a dog. The most embarrassing thing was that 8 of them were killed. If news of this got out, how could they continue to stand in the pill puppet world? How could they? Oh no. The 2 8th grade middle stage pill puppets were still thinking. Ningyu had already arrived in front of them with the red demon sword in his hand. He aimed the red demon sword at one of the middle stage pill puppets and stabbed it out. In order to kill in one strike, Ningyu used a lot of strength in this attack. Whoosh! At this critical moment, the middle stage pill puppet that Ningyu had locked onto dodged to the side. Although he tried his best to dodge, he was still stabbed by the red demon sword. However, the red demon sword did not pierce the middle stage pill puppet's heart. It only injured the middle stage pill puppet's arm. Brat, you have completely angered me. I will let you know why flowers are so red. The middle stage pill puppet that was stabbed in the arm roared in anger. Don't talk nonsense with me. If you want to fight, then fight. Why do you have so much nonsense to say? Ningyu curled his lips and said, Fine, since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. The injured middle stage pill puppet immediately charged forward, unleashing all of its raging Yuan energy. Yuan energy pill puppet. This was an Yuan energy pill puppet. Most of the pill puppets I've encountered recently are Yuan energy pill puppets. I've never encountered a soul force pill puppet. Ningyu frowned as he watched the middle stage pill puppet charging at him. Yuan energy pill puppets could help raise one's cultivation level, while soul force pill puppets could help raise one's soul power. Ningyu understood his own situation very well. After advancing to grade 3 human supreme, it was almost impossible for him to advance to grade 4 human supreme in a short period of time. It would be very difficult for him to obtain even more Yuan energy. Therefore, Ningyu preferred the soul force pill puppet. Universal palm. His brows suddenly relaxed. Ningyu's right hand changed from a fist to a palm, and he instantly pushed it out. Swish. Accompanied by a low roar, a palm print that wasn't too big emerged from Ningyu's palm. Its target was the middle stage pill puppet in front of him. Kai kai. Due to the speed at which the palm print moved, it created a hissing sound from the friction with the air. This hissing sound was soon inaudible. This was because before the universal palm could transform into the Qian character of the universe, it was destroyed by a grade 8 middle stage pill puppet. After destroying the palm print, the 2 middle stage pill puppets quickly arrived in front of Ningyu. 2 punches, from 2 different directions, were aimed at Ning Yu's head. Law of space. Being chased by two peak pill puppets, Ning Yu's expression turned very cold as he hurriedly shouted. Whoosh! Ning Yu's shout directly caused the law of space to spring out and float in front of him. On the way back to Danwu College, Ning Yu concealed the law of space. In other words, unless it was a grade 9 human supreme, it was impossible to discover the true nature of the law of space. Boom! Ning Yu's shout saved his life. The two punches from the two grade 8 middle stage pill puppets almost landed on him. Fortunately, the law of space helped him conceal his location. Ah! 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 At this time, the battlefield in the distance changed again. After the Dark Emperor obtained the 3 Shenyang pills, his combat power instantly soared. In less than 10 minutes, 4 middle stage pill puppets were killed. 2 were peak grade 7 human supremes, and 2 were early grade 8 human supremes. There were only 5 middle stage pill puppets fighting the Dark Emperor. After a few minutes of tough battle, the Dark Emperor finally killed 4 of them. The only remaining grade 8 middle stage pill puppet was also heavily injured. Chapter 1152. Faulty seal. In the short span of 7 or 8 minutes. Of the 16 powerful pill caverns, 13 had already died in battle, leaving behind only 3 top-notch pill puppets. 2 8th grade middle human supremes and 1 8th grade early human supremes. Furthermore, the 8th grade early stage human supreme Dan Xiong had suffered heavy injuries and his strength had dropped. No, it should be said that the 8th grade early stage human supreme Dan Xiong had also been successfully killed. Puff. The Dark Emperor was not a fool. He would definitely not hold back. It opened its mouth wide and spat out a beam of cold light, which directly burrowed into the body of the early grade 8 Dan puppet. At the moment of his death, this early 8th grade Dan puppet was still hoping that his companions would come and save him. Ka. One after another, pill puppets died in battle. The remaining 2 middle stage 8th grade pill puppets had very gloomy expressions. They were even clenching their fists so hard that cracking sounds could be heard. These 2 mid-stage grade 8 pill puppets were called He Tian and He Lai. In the Eastern Expedition Army, He Tian and He Lai held very high positions. Each of them had many Dan puppet troops under their command. If they couldn't kill Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor this time, even without Wei Jiyu saying anything, they wouldn't have the face to return to the Eastern Expedition Army. Therefore, Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor must die. Dark Emperor, 1 each. Tossing a Shenyang pill into his mouth, Ning Yu pointed at He Tian and He Lai in front of him. Just how many bloody Shenyang pills do you have left? Looking at how Ning Yu wasted yet another Shenyang pill, the Dark Emperor said with a sullen face. You should think about how to deal with the 2 of them. Ning Yu did not give a direct reply to the Dark Emperor's words, but changed the topic. The 2 of them are both middle phase 8th grade sovereigns with powerful strength. If you can't handle them, then tell me. I can deal with the 2 of them. Humph. If I kill Dan Ming before you, you have to give me 10 Shenyang pills. With a cold harumph, the Dark Emperor demanded. Hihi, that depends on whether you can kill it first. With a faint smile, Ning Yu's body became illusory. Courting death. Hearing that Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor actually used themselves as a wager, He Tian and He Lai were furious. Whoosh. Whoosh. He Tian faced the Dark Emperor, while He Lai faced Ning Yu. He Tian and He Lai only had one thought in their minds. Kill. 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 The violent killing intent in their hearts surfaced. They only hoped to kill Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor as soon as possible, because only then would they be able to resolve the hatred in their heart. A great battle was on the verge of breaking out. Bang! Bang! At this critical moment, the situation suddenly changed. On the other side of the battlefield, the Sword of Evil and Palatial Lord Centaurea were simultaneously punched by Wei Jiyu. His body was like a kite with a broken string, falling straight to the ground. He Tian, He Lai, I've already heavily injured the Palace Master of the 100 Flowers Palace and the Sword of Evil. Grab, what? Wei Jiyu said in a clear voice after succeeding in a single move. Just now, Wei Jiyu had received news from Chen He, saying that the seal of the pill cave had deteriorated. Over a dozen 5th-grade human Supreme Realm pill puppets had lost their lives. Thus, Wei Gu's first thought was to return to the seal as soon as possible and investigate the situation. Who would have thought that Wei Gu would see a scene that shocked him? Other than He Tian and He Lai, none of the dozen pill puppets he had brought out from the pill cave had survived. Meanwhile, the auras of Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor had not decreased in the slightest. How could Wei Gu not be shocked and puzzled by such a situation? What the hell are you two doing? With a dark expression, Wei Gu berated, "Trash. You're all King trash. Why did I raise you two? Give us a few more minutes, I guarantee that we can kill them," He Tian and He Lai said in unison. "Me. Open your eyes and watch how I kill Ning Yu and that damned dog." With a cold snort, Wei Gu disappeared in an instant. Kai. From the moment Wei Gu disappeared to the moment he appeared in front of Ning Yu, only 0.01 seconds had passed. Bang! He abruptly punched out with his right hand. His fist landed squarely on Ning Yu's chest. A huge force came from his chest, causing Ning Yu to fly backward. The place where Ning Yu fell happened to be where the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Centaurea fell. Bang! The Dark Emperor's fate was similar to that of Ning Yu. Not long after Ning Yu fell, the Dark Emperor fell beside them in the same way. Right now, all four of them are heavily injured. I'll leave them to you two trash to watch over. You can torture them, you can beat them, but remember, you can't kill them, because I still have a use for them. With that, Wei Gu tore through the void and disappeared in an instant. Pa. After Wei Gu disappeared, He Tian and He Lai clapped their hands at the same time and said sinisterly, "There's also a day when you fall into our hands. Haha, we have plenty of time. Let's play slowly." He Tian said with a faint smile. Nodding, He Lai said, "That's right, let's play slowly." After a moment of silence, He Lai continued, "How about this? I think that black dog is a little special. First, break his limbs, no, I should say the tendons of his claws. Ha ha ha." With that, He Lai laughed to himself. Is Wei Gu really that powerful? Is there any way to kill him? No matter what He Lai and the others said, as long as they didn't attack, Ning Yu wouldn't react. Ning Yu's main goal was to communicate with the Sword of Evil and see if they could get rid of Wei Gu. Shenyang pills. Large amounts of Shenyang pills. The Sword of Evil's face was gloomy, but he didn't say anything because he had no other choice. Instead, it was the Centaurea Palace Master who said, "As long as you can provide me with 40 Shenyang pills, I can set up a huge Centaurea array and seal the entire courtyard. At that time, I can even kill a 9th-grade human supreme, let alone a pinnacle 8th-grade human supreme." The Centaurea Palace Master's tone was firm and her eyes were cold. Even though she didn't think that Ning Yu had 40 Shenyang pills, she still wanted to give it a try. After all, if she didn't try, she would have to give up this bit of soul power of hers. 40 Shenyang pills, huh? Ning Yu's face was gloomy and no one knew what he was thinking. To be honest, while 40 Shenyang pills were a lot, it wasn't a problem for him. After the sapling devoured the entire Emperor-grade Yuan crystal mine, it produced a total of 100 Shenyang pills. Apart from the 20 to 30 used, there were still 50 Shenyang pills left. Furthermore, the sapling would produce another Shenyang pill after a period of time. If you don't have any, then forget it. Let's just wait for death together. Looking at Ning Yu's expression, the Centaurea Palace Master knew that it was likely to be a disaster. "It's a pity that I didn't get to learn the soul guidance technique that you mentioned." The reason why the Centaurea Palace Master was helping Ning Yu wasn't because of her relationship with Ning Yu, but because Ning Yu had promised her that as long as she could help Ning Yu deal with Dan Zhong, Ning Yu would teach her the soul guidance technique after a month. Chapter 1153. Courting Death. I'll give you 40 Shenyang pills. How long will it take for you to set up the gigantic 100 Flowers formation? Just as the Palace Master was feeling slightly disappointed, Ning Yu's words rang in her ears. Swish. Ning Yu's words caused the Palatial Master to stand up with a slight change in her expression. Her face was filled with disbelief. 40 Shenyang pills. That was 40 Shenyang pills. Just what sort of a freak was Ningyu to say that he could provide her with 40 Shenyang pills? Gulp. Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, the palace master said in a deep voice, with 40 Shenyang pills, I can set up the gigantic 100 flowers formation in 10 minutes. Furthermore, my cultivation will recover to the pinnacle of grade 8 supreme 10 minutes, huh? Ningyu furrowed his brows. Set up the 100 flowers formation with all your might. As for He Tian and He Lai, leave them to me and the Sword of Evil. Swoosh. With that, Ningyu flicked his sleeves and tossed another 2 Shenyang pills to the Sword of Evil. Sword of Evil, I can buy you 3 minutes. In other words, if you can't recover in 3 minutes, everyone will die today. Before the Sword of Evil could reply, Ningyu stomped on the ground and charged towards He Tian and He Lai. In the process, Ningyu took out a Shenyang pill and tossed it into his mouth. Crack. The moment the Shenyang pill entered his stomach, Ningyu hurriedly channeled the spirit transformation technique and started refining it at full speed. The spirit transformation technique refined essence qi at an extremely fast speed. Even though Ningyu did not manage to refine the entire Shenyang pill, he was able to refine most of it. Slash. With essence qi wrapped around his wrist, Ningyu slashed out with a sword gleam. TSK. The sword gleam tore through the void and struck towards He Tian. As for Ningyu, he wielded the red demon sword and clashed with He Tian. Rumble. In the air, all kinds of spells were unleashed. Ningyu knew that his mission was to stall He Lai and the others, not to kill them. Therefore, the strength of each of Ningyu's strikes was just right, not wasting a shred of essence energy. Damn it. He Lai's expression was extremely ugly. Like Ningyu, Wei Jiyu was unable to use his full strength in each of his attacks. Because before Wei Jiyu left, he had instructed that they could only torture Ningyu and the others, not kill them. Otherwise, with He Lai's personality, he would have killed Ningyu long ago. Why would he wait until now? He Tian, I'll deal with this brat. You go take care of the others. He Lai said sinisterly as he rolled his eyes. Since I can't kill you, I'll torture you slowly. It's fine if I torture you, but I'm going to torture your friends too. I'll let you know what cruelty is. No problem. He Tian was also holding back his anger. His figure flashed, and he instantly landed beside the Dark Emperor. His right hand clenched into a fist, and he ruthlessly punched the Dark Emperor's head. Although He Tian's punch might not be able to kill the Dark Emperor, it shouldn't be a problem to heavily injure him. Law of Space. Seeing He Tian charging at the Dark Emperor, Ningyu hurriedly communicated with the Law of Space. As he had devoured a lot of royal-grade essence crystals underground in the Devil's Cave, Ningyu's figure appeared in front of the Dark Emperor as soon as he finished speaking. Bang! At the critical moment, Ningyu punched out, colliding with He Tian's fist. A crisp sound rang out, and the two figures quickly retreated. Brat, how can you be so fast? After one move, He Tian's face was filled with shock. How could Ningyu reach his side so quickly? How could Ningyu reach his side so quickly? 0.001 second? Even He Tian might not be able to reach this distance so quickly, but Ningyu had done it. 2 minutes left. Rubbing his slightly swollen wrist, Ningyu thought to himself. As long as he held on for another 2 minutes, the Sword of Evil would be able to recover to his peak condition. At that time, with the Sword of Evil's strength, he could probably defeat or even kill He Tian and the others with a single move. Do you want to know why I'm so fast? Ningyu's eyes darted around, and he said calmly, flight spell, I know a flight spell. What flight spell? He Tian fell for it as expected, and he asked coldly. At this time, He Lai also flew over. However, He Lai didn't attack immediately. Instead, he crossed his arms in front of his chest, and stared at Ningyu. Tell us that flight spell, and we can leave your corpse intact. You don't dare to kill me. Ningyu said indifferently, I heard what Wei Jiyu said before he left. You can torture me, but you can't kill me. Brat. Don't be arrogant. He Lai said coldly. Our methods of torture are far beyond what you can imagine. Let me give you a piece of advice, answer our questions honestly, or you'll die of agony, He Tian added. Alright, the incantation for the flight spell is a bit long, I'm afraid you won't be able to remember it. Shrugging, Ningyu said. Ha ha ha. Our memory is so good. What kind of spell? Holy shit. He Lai said with a maniacal laugh. However, before He Lai could finish his sentence, he cursed. Because Ningyu had already opened his mouth and started reciting the incantation for the flight spell. All things in the world, flight is the most important. Ningyu recited the incantation very quickly, so quickly that He Lai couldn't react at all. Often, he would only remember the first half of the sentence before Ningyu finished reciting the second half. In order to memorize the incantation perfectly, He Lai said in a low voice, "He Tian, we'll each recite one sentence." "No problem." He Tian replied. The reason why He Tian and He Lai were so attentive was because they could feel that the flight spell Ningyu recited was not simple. Fortunately, I didn't just randomly come up with a spell, or I would have been easily discovered. Ningyu murmured as he recited the incantation. Truth be told, Ningyu had wanted to randomly come up with a spell, but at the crucial moment, he searched his mind and found a flight spell. According to the rank of the martial skill, the flight spell should be at the emperor rank. A monarch-ranked martial technique was extremely attractive to He Tian and He Lai. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, 2 minutes had passed since Ningyu recited the incantation. Rumble. As it turned out, the Sword of Evil did not disappoint Ningyu. He said 3 minutes, and it was 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, a terrifying aura emanated from the Sword of Evil's body. A peak grade 8 human supreme. After consuming the 2 Shenyang pills provided by Ningyu, the Sword of Evil had completely recovered to his peak state. The reason why the Sword of Evil could recover to his peak state after consuming 2 Shenyang pills was not because the Shenyang pills provided by Ningyu were heaven-defying, but because the injuries he had sustained this time around were not too serious. It was just that he had expended too much of his essence qi. 2 Shenyang pills replenished his essence qi and allowed him to recover to his peak state. Not good, retreat. He Tian and He Lai were not idiots. When they felt the terrifying aura emanating from the Sword of Evil, their expressions changed and they retreated hastily. They were only middle grade 8 human supreme. How could they fight a peak grade 8 human supreme? Chapter 1154. Giant 100 Flowers Formation. You want to leave? It won't be that easy. Seeing that He Tian and the others were about to leave, the Sword of Evil snorted coldly and disappeared. After recovering to his peak state, the Sword of Evil felt like he could do anything with ease. A second after disappearing, the Sword of Evil reappeared beside He Tian. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched toward He Tian's chest with an extremely violent yuan qi. Faced with such a terrifying punch, He Tian's mouth was agape and his eyes were filled with terror. He was only an 8th grade intermediate human supreme martial artist. How could he be a match for the Sword of Evil? Bang! A crisp sound rang out. Without a doubt, the Sword of Evil's fist had landed on He Tian's chest. The immense force sent He Tian flying several meters away. Poochie! He Tian spat out a mouthful of blood as his aura plummeted. Shio! At this time, an afterimage swept over from afar. Dark Emperor! The afterimage was none other than the Dark Emperor. Due to the remnant effects of the Shenyang pill within his body, the Dark Emperor only took a few minutes to recover. Although he had not recovered to his peak state, it was not difficult for the Dark Emperor to fly quickly with the density of the yuan qi in his body. Ah! A hysterical scream came from He Tian's mouth. Before long, He Tian was completely devoured by the Dark Emperor. Not to mention the heavily injured He Tian. Even if he was a 9th grade human sovereign, the Dark Emperor would still be able to devour him, even if he was a 9th grade human sovereign. Don't kill me. I can tell you how to restrain Weigu and Dan Gui. He Lai stuttered a little when he saw He Tian being devoured with his own eyes. Ningyu, do you want to keep it? The Sword of Evil stopped and turned around to ask. No need. Kill without mercy, Ningyu said in a deep voice. Hearing Ningyu's words, He Lai was close to despair, and he hastily said, You can't kill me, I.Pu. However, since Ningyu had spoken, how could the Sword of Evil spare He Lai? He attacked with all his might, raising his hand and throwing a punch. He Lai spat out a mouthful of blood as his aura rapidly dropped to a terrifying level. Whoosh. The same action, the same behavior. After the Dark Emperor devoured He Tian, he devoured He Lai as well. Burp. After devouring He Tian and He Lai one after another, the Dark Emperor burped. Ningyu, give me some time. I'll refine them first. After saying this, the Dark Emperor's body fell straight to the ground. What's wrong? The Sword of Evil's expression changed slightly when he saw the Dark Emperor fall to the ground. It's fine. He has swallowed too much energy, so he can't refine it in a short period of time. Ningyu waved his hand, indicating that the Sword of Evil didn't need to worry. Then, he walked up to the palace mistress. After pondering for a moment, Ningyu asked, how much longer will it take to set up the giant 100 flowers formation? Whether or not they could set up the giant 100 flowers formation, and how long it would take to set up the giant 100 flowers formation, were the key to whether or not they could escape unscathed today. 5 minutes. The palace mistress was concise and didn't say anything else after saying this. 5 minutes. Frowning slightly, Ningyu turned around and said, Sword of Evil, pay close attention to the underground situation. The moment a pill puppet comes out, inform me immediately. What are you going to do? The Sword of Evil was startled at first, then asked. Nothing much. I'm just cleaning up the Dark Emperor's mess. Ningyu said. The Dark Emperor was also a rare help. As long as he could help the Dark Emperor refine the energy within his body, he could even improve further and become a middle grade 3 human sovereign. As one of the 5 absolute geniuses, Ningyu was well aware of how terrifying they were. For example, he was an early grade 3 human sovereign and could easily kill an early grade 8 human sovereign. Once he advanced to the 3rd grade intermediate human sovereign realm, he would be able to easily kill an 8th grade intermediate human sovereign realm. As long as he advanced to peak grade 3 human sovereign, he could even fight against a peak grade 8 human sovereign. Of course, every minor advancement was extremely difficult, especially for someone like him and the Dark Emperor who had just advanced to peak grade 3 human sovereign. It was extremely difficult for them to advance another minor level. Kai. Ningyu didn't hesitate when doing things. If he said he would help the Dark Emperor refine the energy within his body, he would do it. Soul Force quietly entered the Dark Emperor's body. Ningyu was highly focused as he helped the Dark Emperor refine the energy within his body. As time passed, the Dark Emperor's condition improved. After only 3 minutes, the Dark Emperor opened his eyes, his chubby face filled with joy. Peak early grade 3 human sovereign. The Dark Emperor's cultivation had reached peak early grade 3 human sovereign. As long as he could refine the last bit of energy within his body, he could successfully advance to middle grade 3 human sovereign. Rumble. At this moment, a rumbling sound rang out. Shua. 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 The ground suddenly split open and 3 figures shot out. Not good, it's Pill Puppet. Looking at the 3 figures that suddenly appeared, the Dark Emperor's expression changed slightly. This was the crucial moment for him to advance to middle grade 3 human sovereign. Didn't the appearance of Pill Puppets mean that he couldn't advance anymore? Don't worry, it's just a peak 5th grade human sovereign. Ningyu coldly said, leave it to the Sword of Evil. What you need to do is to increase my cultivation as soon as possible. Understood. The Dark Emperor knew that time was of the essence. He closed his eyes and cooperated with Ningyu to refine the energy within his body. Bang bang bang. The Sword of Evil didn't disappoint Ningyu. 3 peak 5th grade human sovereigns couldn't stop him. With 3 consecutive moves, he quickly killed the 3 peak 5th grade human sovereigns. Palace Master Centauria, hurry up. The seal underground has been restrained by Wagyu and a large number of pill puppets will surge up soon. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold on for long. After killing the 3 pill puppets, the Sword of Evil said, once Wagyu appears and you haven't finished setting up the giant 100 flowers formation, everyone will be finished. Don't worry, the giant 100 flowers formation will be completed soon. The Palace Master Centauria wasn't too worried. Furthermore, she wasn't disturbed by the outside world and focused on setting up the 100 flowers formation. In just a few minutes, she had already used up 35 out of the 40 Shenyang pills. She was only left with 5. Let's go all out, Xielan. Whether your body can withstand these 5 Shenyang pills will depend entirely on your luck. Opening her mouth, the Palace Master Centaurea swallowed the remaining 5 Shenyang pills. If this body belonged to the Palace Master Centaurea, not to mention 5 Shenyang pills, she would even be able to refine 50 Shenyang pills. Xielan was only an initial 8th grade human sovereign. Her body wasn't too tough. Whether she could withstand the impact of 5 Shenyang pills would depend entirely on her luck. If she could withstand it, she might even advance to intermediate 8th grade human sovereign. If she couldn't, there was a high chance that she would die on the spot. Once Xielan died, the 100 flowers formation would fail. Gulp. Chapter 1155. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Just as the Palace Master was refining the Shenyang pills with all her might, the ground in the distance cracked open again and 3 more figures leaped out. 6th grade human supremes. 3 5th grade human supremes had leaped out previously, and this time, a 6th grade human supremes had emerged. Die. Reverend Sword Evil was highly focused. After killing 3 5th grade human sovereigns, he immediately went forward and used his powerful strength to kill another 3 6th grade human sovereigns. Palace Master, hurry up. I'm afraid that even stronger pill puppets will appear. The Sword of Evil realized the severity of the situation after 2 batches of 6 pill puppets with increasingly higher cultivation. If nothing went wrong, a 7th grade human supremacy pill puppet would appear next. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As expected, the Sword of Evil's guess was right. Just as he finished speaking, another 3 pill puppets leaped out from the ground. 7th grade human supremes. The cultivation of these 3 pill puppets had reached the terrifying 7th grade human supremacy realm. Fortunately, the Sword of Evil had recovered to his peak state. Otherwise, these 3 batches of powerful pill puppets would have started a massacre in Danwu College. The entire courtyard was divided into 3 parts. Ningyu was helping the Dark Emperor refine the energy, the Sword of Evil was blocking the pill puppets from the pill cavern, and the Palace Master was refining the Shenyang pills. As the pill puppets grew stronger, the Sword of Evil was starting to feel powerless. Although he could kill an initial stage 8th grade human sovereign, if there were too many of them, he wouldn't be able to kill them all at once. He needed time. While he was killing the pill puppets, there would definitely be pill puppets attacking Ningyu and the Palace Master. As a matter of fact, an early 8th grade human sovereign realm Dan puppet slipped away from Venerable Sword Evil's eyes and headed straight for Ningyu. Boom. At this critical moment, a terrifying aura erupted from the Dark Emperor's body. This aura was exceptionally frightening as it soared into the sky. 3rd grade mid-human supremacy realm. With Ningyu's help, the Dark Emperor had advanced to the 3rd grade intermediate sovereign realm, courting death. The Dark Emperor, who was a middle grade 3 human supreme martial artist, was enraged when he saw the Dan Kai attacking Ningyu. A cold voice rang out from the Dark Emperor's mouth. Shortly after, the Dark Emperor's 4 hooves landed on the ground and shot out. Whoosh! The Dark Emperor did not hold back at all. After reaching the 3rd grade intermediate sovereign realm, he had used his full strength in his first move. The early stage grade 8 human supreme Dan Kai did not expect the Dark Sovereign's attack to be so powerful. In a moment of carelessness, he was struck in the chest by the Dark Sovereign, causing him to fall to the ground. Shio. Succeeding in one move, the Dark Emperor chased after him. Towards these pill puppets who wanted to kill him, the Dark Emperor would never hold back. Wait. However, when Ningyu saw the Dark Emperor attacking with all his might, he hurriedly said, "I still have use for him." Whoosh. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor stopped and looked at Ningyu in confusion. What was the point of keeping Danny? Could he still be steamed or fried? Ask about the seal in the pill cave. Tossing a royal grade origin crystal into his mouth, Ningyu continued, "Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated." "All right, I'll go ask." Shrugging his shoulders, the Dark Emperor came to Dan Kai and kicked him. "You've heard Ningyu's words. You better tell me the truth. Otherwise, I'll let you know why the flowers are red." "Tui." Dan Kai spat out a mouthful of saliva as he coldly said. The seal in the pill cave has already been stabilized by Venerable Wegu, and there will be an endless supply of Dan Kai. Let me give you a piece of advice: if you want to live, then let me go. I will put in a few good words for you before Venerable Wegu. Otherwise, you guys, PFFFT. As the Dan Kai spoke, he spewed a mouthful of blood and his aura fell to the freezing point. The Dark Emperor retracted his tail that was wrapped around Dan Kai's neck and said indifferently, I hate people who threaten me the most. No, I hate humans who threaten me and Dan Kai the most. It's not an injustice for you to die in my hands. PFFFT. Dan Kai was originally still breathing, but when he heard the Dark Emperor's words, his eyes rolled back and he died on the spot. There are many colors in the world. What's there to take things too hard? Seeing the Dan Kai die, the Dark Emperor shrugged. His words were always about devouring. Since you're already dead, then I can't let this corpse go to waste. The Dark Emperor dragged Dan Kai's corpse to the other side and started devouring. Ningyu rolled his eyes and flew to the side of the Sword of Evil. What's going on? There seems to be no more Dan Kai coming up in the past minute. It should be that Wegu has discovered something and wants to wait for the Dan Kai army to gather before coming out. The Sword of Evil's expression was solemn and a little cold. If it was really as he had guessed, then it was going to be a disaster. The further they went, the higher the cultivation of the Dan Kai. One could imagine that the pill puppet that would emerge from the pill cave would at least be at the 8th grade intermediate human sovereign realm. As for whether there would be a powerful middle grade 9 human supreme, the Sword of Evil had no idea. I wonder when the Palace Master will be able to set up the giant 100 flowers array. Turning his head to look at the Palace Master, who was still busy, Ningyu said, Sword of Evil, you've been fighting for too long. Here are 2 Shenyang pills. Use them sparingly because I only have a total of 5. Swish. Throwing an interspatial pouch to the Sword of Evil, Ningyu continued, while Dan Kai is resting, we can also take a break. Piak. Receiving the interspatial pouch, the Sword of Evil took out a Shenyang pill and threw it into his mouth without a word. Honestly speaking, the Sword of Evil had expended a lot of energy during this period of battle. Fortunately, Ningyu had Shenyang pills. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to recover so quickly. Drip. Drip. Time was ticking away. After devouring the Shenyang pill, the Sword of Evil had recovered to his peak condition. As for the Dark Emperor, he had also reached the peak of middle grade 3rd grade 9 human supreme after devouring the Dan Kai that was an early grade 8 human supreme. Rumble. Suddenly, the ground caved in again. A huge pit appeared in the courtyard. Swoosh. Following that, an overwhelming number of Dan Kai jumped out of the pit. SSS. Seeing the sudden appearance of the Dan Kai, Ningyu and the Sword of Evil gasped at the same time. Many. Very many. Terrifyingly many. In the blink of an eye, 50 pill puppets came out of the hole. Ningyu and the rest knew very well that the pit was connected to the pill cave. In other words, all the Dan Kai in the pill cave might come out at once. Palace Master by Hua. At this critical moment, Ningyu shouted. Boom. Following Ningyu's shout, the Palace Master by Hua gave off a terrifying aura. Swish. 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 The Palace Master by Hua waved her hands repeatedly. Instantly, 4 huge pillars of light rose in the surroundings. The beams of light converged in midair, and then suddenly dispersed in all directions, forming a transparent barrier of light. Chapter 1156. 9th grade. What the F***CK. The sudden change caused Ningyu to curse. The reason why Ningyu cursed wasn't because the 100-flower array wasn't set up yet, nor was it because the array was flawed. It was because the gigantic 100 flowers formation had enveloped them within it, sharing the 100-flower array with so many pellet puppets. Ningyu didn't want to die yet. Palatial mistress, quickly think of a way to break the 100-flower array. Ningyu immediately said. Haha, you're only leaving now? Don't you think it's a little late? Suddenly, a faint voice resounded. Rustle. Shortly after, Wei Jiu appeared from the group of pellet puppets. Looking at the barrier around him, Wei Jiu smiled. Did you think that I wouldn't know after killing so many pellet puppets? The reason why I didn't appear was because I was breaking the seal. After this period of work, I've already broken the seal underground. Wei Jiyu, you're only a pinnacle 8th grade sovereign. Your words don't matter here. The palatial mistress expression didn't change, as if she was talking about something that had nothing to do with her. I'm only a pinnacle 8th grade sovereign. Hearing the palace master's words, Wei Jiyu pointed at his own nose. How powerful do you think you are? Aren't you only a pinnacle 8th grade sovereign? After refining the 5 Shenyang pellets and adding the remaining energy from the 100-flower array, the palatial mistress had recovered to the pinnacle 8th grade sovereign. As for Xielan, her cultivation had also reached the intermediate 8th grade sovereign. With Xielan's body, the palatial mistress wasn't afraid of Wei Jiyu. On the contrary, the palatial mistress was confident that she could kill Wei Jiyu in the 100-flower array. However, the palatial mistress wouldn't do that, because she knew better than anyone that Wei Jiyu wasn't the strongest among the pellet puppets, but the 3rd strongest. That meant that there were 2 other pellet puppets with higher cultivation than Wei Jiyu. Wei Jiyu was a peak 8th grade human sovereign, and his cultivation was even higher than Wei Gu's. One could imagine that his cultivation was definitely at 9th grade human sovereign. Come out. If you still don't come out, I'll kill your right-hand man, Wei Jiyu. Don't doubt my strength. If I want to kill Wei Jiyu, it'll be as easy as blowing off dust. The palace mistress of the 100 Flowers Palace didn't care about Wei Gu's reaction at all. Humph. You're playing tricks on us. With a cold snort, Wei Jiyu stomped on the ground and charged out at an astonishing speed. Wei Jiyu was very fast. He was so fast that he appeared in front of Palatial Lord Centaurea the moment he vanished. I'll send you to hell. A cold voice rang out from Wei Gu's mouth. Immediately after, Wei Gu's fist was accompanied by a violent gale of yuan qi as it ruthlessly smashed towards the palatial mistress' head. For the sake of killing the palace master with a single strike, Wei Jiyu had utilized 100% of his strength in this punch. Sword of Evil, go and help. At this critical moment, Ningyu hastily said. It wasn't that Ningyu doubted the palace master's strength, but he was afraid that the battle between the palace master and Wei Jiyu would incur the wrath of the pellet puppets. Facing so many 8th grade Sovereign Realm pellet puppets, it was impossible for Ningyu and the Sword of Evil's group to resist. Right now, he could only let the Sword of Evil make a move as soon as possible and kill Wei Jiyu together with the palace master. Only then would he be able to intimidate them, otherwise, the consequences would be. Holy shit. Just when Ningyu thought about it, his eyes widened as he looked at the scene before him with disbelief on his face. Boom. The palace master slightly shifted her body and clenched her right hand into a fist. Then, she threw it towards Wei Gu's heart. A powerful force came from his heart, causing Wei Jiyu to fly out. Crack, crack, crack. As he flew out, cracking sounds constantly resounded from Wei Gu's body. Boom. PFFFT. Not long after, Wei Jiyu heavily fell onto the ground and spewed a mouthful of blood. You, Wei Jiyu raised his hand with great difficulty and opened his mouth. He wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, his eyes rolled back and he died on the spot. Rustle. The sudden changes caused the pellet puppets in this region, including Ningyu's group, to be dumbfounded. Dead. Wei Jiyu, who was a pinnacle 8th grade sovereign, was actually killed by a single punch from the palace master. Wasn't this too exaggerated? Venerable Wei Jiyu is a pinnacle 8th grade sovereign. How could he be killed? He was truly killed, and it was by a single punch. Even Venerable Wei Jiyu is dead. What should we do? The remaining pellet puppets looked at each other and had no idea what to do. POW. 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 As the pellet puppets discussed, a black-robed elder pushed the crowd aside and slowly appeared before Ningyu's group. The elder clapped his hands and faintly said, I have to say, you guys are truly not bad. To be able to kill Wei Jiyu so easily, looks like I've underestimated you guys. Let me introduce myself. I'm Helion, the person in charge of the Eastern Expedition Army in the Great Xia Kingdom. The elder continued, this attack on the human world was also ordered by me. A ninth-grade sovereign. Sensing the terrifying aura emanating from Helion, Ningyu's face turned grave. Helion was a ninth-grade sovereign. However, Ningyu was a little puzzled. Why did Helion just watch as Wei Jiyu was killed without doing anything to stop it? Could it be that there was enmity between Helion and Wei Jiyu? Shaking his head, Ningyu rejected this possibility. With the ability of a ninth-grade sovereign, killing an eighth-grade sovereign was as easy as blowing off dust. There was no need to go through so much trouble. Buzz buzz. As Ningyu was pondering, the law of space began to shake violently. The shaking of the law of space made Ningyu's heart skip a beat. He hurriedly used a secret technique to probe Helion. As if sensing that Ningyu was probing him, Helion snorted coldly and flicked his sleeves. In an instant, a cold light flew out and rushed towards Ningyu. Soul power. The aura emitted from the cold light was neither yuan qi nor energy. It was soul power. Soul pellet puppet. Helion was a soul pellet puppet. His main attack method was soul power attacks. Universe palm. Ningyu clenched his teeth and hurriedly wrapped all his soul power around his wrist. With a backhand slap, he sent out a horrifying palm print. Universe palm was a soul attack spell. To deal with a soul attack, one had to use a soul attack. Otherwise, one's soul power might be heavily injured. Kai. The cold light and the palm print collided and both dissipated. I didn't expect you to know a soul attack spell as well. Seeing that his attack was easily neutralized by Ningyu, Helion raised the corner of his mouth and said, I am a soul pellet puppet. If I can obtain your soul attack spell, my strength will improve a little. Although Helion was a soul pellet puppet, he knew very few soul attack spells. If he could really get his hands on the Netherworld Samsara Palm, his strength would improve a lot. Chapter 1157. Helion, you want the Netherworld Samsara Palm? Ningyu was first stunned, and then he said, it's not impossible. So long as you promise not to attack the human world in the future, then I'll tell you the cultivation technique of the Netherworld Samsara Palm. Furthermore, at this point, Ningyu paused for a moment before continuing, I will also tell you about a soul attack technique that is even more powerful than the Netherworld Samsara Palm. Sigh. Ningyu's words made Helion sigh softly. He said, I originally thought that you were very smart. Who would have thought that there was something wrong with your head? I've lost so many pill puppet soldiers to break the seal and come to the human world, yet you want me to give up? Is there something wrong with your head? You're very lucky to be able to block my first attack. However, you definitely won't be so lucky with my second attack. As soon as the word chi was uttered, Helion stomped his feet on the ground, and his body suddenly disappeared. Ningyu, retreat! The Sword of Evil and the Palatial Master shouted at the same time when they saw Helion disappear. Ningyu's expression was cold. His legs slightly spread apart, and his middle stage 7th grade soul force poured out, wrapping around his palm. Kai kai. The soul power that was constantly jumping around, let out a kai kai sound as it rubbed against the air. Ningyu's palms also shook rhythmically along with the sizzling sound. Law of space, can you find Helion's exact location? Ningyu asked as he gathered the primal chi in his body towards his palm. From Helion's first weak soul attack, Ningyu guessed a possibility. Although the possibility of that wasn't very high, Ningyu still had to verify it. Because once that possibility was established, they would be able to retreat unscathed today. Buzz buzz. The law of space shook twice before sending a message back to Ningyu. Heaven and Earth Palm. After receiving the message from the law of space, Ningyu was even more certain of his guess. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched forward. As soon as he punched out, Ningyu turned his fist into a palm. A blood-red palm print separated from his right palm. The palm print transformed into a huge Qian character in mid-air, and then suddenly blasted towards the void. Catcher. The seemingly tight void was directly shattered by Ningyu's palm print. Whoosh. Space shattered and a figure was sent flying away. Helion. The palace master of the 100 Flowers Palace and Venerable Sword Evil were shocked when they saw the figure flying out of the void. It was completely different from what they had imagined. Originally, They thought that Ningyu would definitely be defeated, and it would be a very easy defeat. Who would have thought that not only did Ningyu not lose, he even pushed He Lian back several feet. Strange, too strange. Bang! Because the surroundings were sealed by the 100 Flowers array, He Lian's body slammed heavily into the 100 Flowers array and stopped on the spot. Fart! He Lian spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and his aura slightly weakened. Ningyu, you've completely infuriated me. With a fierce look in his eyes, He Lian coldly said, I'll give you one last chance. Tell me the cultivation method of the netherworld samsara palm, or else I'll. Haha, don't you think it's a little ridiculous for you to still say such words? Said Ningyu with a faint smile. If I'm not wrong, although you're a grade 9 human supreme, you've suffered serious internal injuries, and your battle prowess has fallen to the level of a peak grade 8 human supreme. Whoosh. Ningyu's words made Helian's heart skip a beat. He was extremely shocked. How did Ningyu know that he was injured? Aside from himself, no one in the Eastern Expedition Army knew that he was injured. He Lian didn't believe that Ningyu's senses were so powerful that he could discover that he was injured. Mitch, a bunch of nonsense. He Lian coldly snorted and said, I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it. Since that's the case, I can only send you to hell. Go, all of you go. Regardless of life or death, kill this arrogant brat first. Rumble. Helian was the leader of these Dan Nu. His words had a decisive effect. As He Lian's voice fell, all the puppets in the 100 Flowers array moved out and charged at Ningyu. The puppets' goal was clear. They wanted to kill Ningyu and turn Ningyu's bones into ashes. You even dared to provoke our leader. Aren't you courting death? Have you asked for my permission to fight in the 100 Flowers array? The palace master seemed to have understood something from Helian's words. Although He Lian was a 9th grade human supreme, he wasn't as strong as a 9th grade human supreme, but a pinnacle 8th grade human supreme. The palace master took a step forward and waved her hands. Sand and pebbles flew around and a white mist appeared, trapping the puppets inside. 100 Flowers array, 100 flowers appear. The palace master roared and waved her hands again and again. Whoosh. Several petals fell from the sky. Stab. 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 Not only were there many petals, but they were also abnormally sharp. Some of the puppets at the 5th grade, 6th grade, and even 7th grade human supreme couldn't block the sharp petals. Their necks were cut open and blood flowed into their bodies. Bang. Bang. Because they were trapped in the mist and their companions were killed by the petals, the rest of the puppets were terrified and even started fighting. Internal strife. Once this kind of internal strife started, unless a powerful warrior intervened, it would continue. In just 3 minutes, most of the elixir puppets in the 100 Flower formation were killed. As for He Lian, he stood on the spot. His eyes flickered, but he didn't intervene. Ningyu, is He Lian really only a pinnacle 8th grade human supreme? The Dark Emperor moved closer to Ningyu and asked. Why? You want to spar with him? Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said, to tell you the truth, even if He Lian only has the strength of an early-stage 8th grade human supreme, you won't be his match. His consciousness is very strong, and he's still a 9th grade human supreme. The reason why Ningyu didn't let the Sword of Evil fight He Lian was because He Lian was stronger, and the Sword of Evil might not be able to defeat him. As for the second reason, it was because the Honorable Sword Evil was busy. The Sword of Evil was busy, which was different from the Palace Master of 100 Flowers. The Palace Master of 100 Flowers was killing the puppets, while the Sword of Evil was thinking of ways to strengthen the connection between the 100 Flowers array and the underground pill cave. The location of the 100 Flowers array was very special. Not only did it trap He Lian and the others inside, but it also blocked the underground pill cave. The Palace Master of 100 Flowers said that Wei Jiu had the 3rd highest cultivation among the puppets, which meant that there were 2 9th grade human supreme in the pill cave. He Lian was one, and the other was Fang Chang, who was in the pill cave. Fang Chang was also trying his best to break the 100 Flowers array. Chapter 1158. Stratagem. I don't want to spar with Helian, but this can't go on. We have to think of a way to get rid of Hellion Ka. The Dark Emperor shook his head and said in a low voice, with the support of the 100-flower array, the mistress of the 100 Flowers Palace is indeed very powerful. She is the absolute ruler here, but, as he spoke, the Dark Emperor paused for a moment, before continuing, Hellion is not someone to be trifled with. If he launches a sneak attack on the mistress of the 100 Flowers Palace, the consequences will be unimaginable. Ningyu raised his brows as he stared at the Dark Emperor with interest and said, I do have a way, but it depends on whether you have the courage to do so. I have plenty of courage, the Dark Emperor said proudly. After reaching the middle grade 3 sovereign realm, the Dark Emperor's confidence had increased by a lot. If it wasn't for Ningyu's reminder, the Dark Emperor would have already taken the initiative to attack Hellion. Why would he wait until now? Alright, if nothing goes wrong, Hellion will definitely make his move in a few minutes. Your mission is to delay Hellion for as long as you can. As he spoke, Ningyu stomped his feet on the ground and dashed out. Rustle. Just as Ningyu dashed out, Hellion's body moved and charged towards Ningyu. What the F***ck? Seeing Hellion's actions, the Dark Emperor couldn't help cursing. Dark Emperor, block Hellion for a few minutes. I'll join hands with the Sword of Evil to reinforce the 100-flower array, then I'll go help you. An anxious voice sounded in the Dark Emperor's ears, causing the Dark Emperor's originally angry expression to slightly ease up. Not good. Although he wasn't angry anymore, the Dark Emperor's face suddenly changed. That's because he saw that Hellion had already arrived before Ningyu, clenching his right hand into a fist and throwing it towards Ningyu's chest. The Dark Emperor could clearly feel that Hellion's fist was extremely powerful. If Ningyu was unlucky enough to be hit, he would definitely be killed on the spot. Why were you? Looking at Hellion, who was constantly approaching him, Ningyu's mouth was wide open, and he even stuttered a little. Ningyu's body trembled as despair surfaced on his face. Ha ha ha, I used to think that you were a man, but now it seems that you're just a wax figure with a silver spear. Nice to look at, but useless. With a wild laugh, Hellion curled his lips and said, if you can block this punch of mine, I will spare your life. Otherwise, In Hellion's eyes, Ningyu was already a dead man. Ningyu was only a 3rd-grade human supreme martial artist, while he was a 9th-grade human supreme martial artist. Even if his strength was reduced to the level of a peak 8th-grade human supreme martial artist, Ningyu would definitely die. Moreover, that idiot, the Sword of Evil, was actually so focused on strengthening the 100-flower formation that he didn't seem to care about what was going on outside. This was the perfect opportunity for him to kill Ningyu. The opportunity was fleeting. If he missed this opportunity, he wouldn't get another one. Hellion definitely had to grab hold of it tightly. If not, what? However, before Hellion's fist could land on Ningyu's body, he heard a familiar voice. It wasn't Ningyu. The warrior who spoke was not Ningyu, because Ningyu was still in the same state, trembling all over. The Sword of Evil. The warrior who spoke was the Sword of Evil. Damn it. Hellion was a smart man. When he heard the Sword of Evil's words, he immediately reacted. This was a trap. This was a trap that Ningyu and the Sword of Evil had worked together to take him down while he was relaxed. Bang. Hellion only reacted now, but it was obviously a little too late. The Sword of Evil tore through the void and appeared in front of him in an instant, punching him in the chest. The huge force directly blasted Hellion several feet away. Good chance. Seeing Hellion retreat, Ningyu suddenly opened his eyes, and a glint shot out from them. Holding the red devil sword, Ningyu instantly dashed out and slashed at Hellion. There was a good saying, take your life while you're down. The task of killing Hellion was very difficult. The Palace Master and the Sword of Evil couldn't help much. Everything fell on the shoulders of Ningyu and the Dark Emperor. The Palace Master attacked Dan Kai in the 100-flower formation with all her might, while the Sword of Evil strengthened the 100-flower formation with all her might. Under this premise, the pressure on Ningyu and the Dark Emperor immediately increased. If they didn't succeed, they would die. You want to kill me? It's not that easy. Soul attack. Hellion wasn't to be trifled with. Although the Sword of Evil's sneak attack caused his battle strength to drop again, Hellion was still able to fight Ningyu and the Dark Emperor with ease. After all, Ningyu was only an early-stage Grade 3 human supreme, and the Dark Emperor was only a mid-stage Grade 3 human supreme. As a Soul Dan Kai, Helian's first attack was a soul attack. Universe Palm. Ningyu knew how powerful soul attacks were. He kept the Red Devil sword and waved both his hands continuously. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Numerous palm prints separated from Ningyu's palms and blasted towards Helian from all directions. To deal with soul attacks, one had to use soul attack spells. Kai kai kai. The cold light from Helian's attack made contact with the Universe Palm and made sizzling sounds. The Universe Palm was the most powerful soul attack spell that Ningyu could use at his current stage. In order to seal Helian, Ningyu waved his palms continuously, and a palm print appeared every second. The overwhelming palm prints blasted towards Helian, causing him to feel a little overwhelmed. Ningyu, I admit that I underestimated you, but you definitely won't be so lucky next. With a low roar, Helian's body suddenly disappeared. Law of Space. Seeing Helian disappear, Ningyu hurriedly communicated with the Law of Space. Damn it. The message transmitted back by the Law of Space made Ningyu want to curse. It couldn't detect him. Although Helian's battle strength wasn't at the level of a Grade 9 human supreme, his cultivation was at the level of a Grade 9 human supreme, and his perception was also at the level of a Grade 9 human supreme. After devouring so many royal grade origin crystals in the Devil's Cave, the Law of Space could already accurately detect the location of a peak Grade 8 human supreme. If a Grade 9 human supreme wanted to hide his aura, the Law of Space couldn't detect him at all. At this moment, Helian appeared beside the Dark Emperor and punched towards his heart. At the critical moment, the Dark Emperor hurriedly dodged. Bang! Fortunately, the Dark Emperor moved his body to the side, causing Helian's fist to not land on his heart. It only landed on his chest. Even so, the Dark Emperor's aura started to weaken rapidly. Not bad, not bad, your reaction speed is quite fast, to be able to dodge my fatal blow. The corner of Helian's mouth curled up, and he said sinisterly, you won't be so lucky for the second punch. Wong wong. Following the last word, Helian's body became illusory again. Oh no. Seeing Helian disappear, the Dark Emperor's heart skipped a beat. Was he really going to die here? The Dark Emperor could clearly feel that Helian was rapidly approaching him at an extremely terrifying speed. Die. As expected, Helian arrived in front of the Dark Emperor in a flash. He clenched his right fist and suddenly punched. Chapter 1159. Only You Rumble. Things were always developing in an unpredictable direction. When Helian's fist was close to the Dark Emperor's head, the entire 100-flower array began to shake violently. Fart. Not only did the 100-flower array shake, even the Sword of Evil spat out a mouthful of blood as his face turned pale. Such a change caused Helian to be slightly stunned. Swish. However, it was this short 1 second that Helian was caught by Ningyu. He only had one chance. If he missed this opportunity, he wouldn't get another one. Ningyu arrived in front of the Dark Emperor in an instant. He first kicked the Dark Emperor away, then took out the red demon sword and slashed at Helian. Whoosh. Ningyu had practically used his full strength in this slash. Helian couldn't dodge in time and his right arm was pierced by the sword. Blood spurted out and flesh splattered everywhere. Ningyu, I'll turn your bones into ashes. Raising his head and letting out a furious roar, Helian roared and charged at Ningyu without any regard for the consequences. Swish. Suddenly, there was a sudden change in the situation. A figure rapidly flashed before Helian. Helian, on the other hand, stopped on the spot. He opened his mouth and pointed at Ningyu with his right hand. He wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, he fell to the ground. Plop. His body hit the ground, causing a cloud of dust to rise. Gulp. The sudden change made Ningyu swallow a mouthful of saliva uncontrollably. Helian was a 9th grade sovereign. Although his battle prowess had decreased, his overall strength was still terrifying. The cultivator that could kill Helian with a single move must be at least a 9th grade human supreme realm martial artist. At the thought of this, Ningyu hurriedly released his perception, wanting to detect who killed Helian. Stop looking. I killed Hellion. Buzz. The void trembled, and then a figure slowly appeared in front of Ningyu. Hiss. Ningyu sucked in a breath of cold air as he sensed the terrifying aura emanating from this figure. 9th grade human supreme martial artist. The cultivation of this figure had reached the terrifying 9th grade human supreme realm. Whoosh. Far away, Palatial Lord Centaurea happened to kill the last elixir puppet. Her figure flashed and she arrived before Ningyu. Whoosh. The sword of evil dragged his heavy footsteps to Ningyu's side. In comparison, Palatial Lord Centaurea still had a lot of combat strength left, while the sword of evil was heavily injured. After all, the sword of evil was in charge of reinforcing the 100-flower array. Yet, the 100-flower array had a hole blasted open by a 9th grade human supreme. 100-flower array. I didn't expect to encounter the 100-flower array again. The 9th grade sovereign squinted his eyes and said, if I've guessed correctly, you guys should be from the Flower Palace. Let me introduce myself. I'm Fang Chang. The 9th grade sovereign continued, I didn't want to kill you guys, but you guys killed so many elixir puppets. If I don't kill you guys, I won't be able to appease the public. So, I'm sorry. Since you know that this is the 100-flower array, then you should know that it's impossible for you to break it with your strength. Palatial Lord Centaurea wasn't scared by Fang Chang at all. Haha, I can't break it. Fang Chang smiled and said, I'm curious. Since I can't break the 100-flower array, how can I leave the pill cave and enter the 100-flower array? Let me answer. The sword of evil said in a deep voice as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. The reason why you can break the 100-flower array is because there are many elixir puppets in the pill cave helping you. If you still can't enter the 100-flower array with their help, then I can't help but doubt your intelligence. Good, very good. So what if I tell you? Because of the other faction, this pill cave is the last chance for us, the pro-war faction. Fang Chang continued, if we can't break it soon, the Eastern Expedition Army will move to another place to continue the war. At that time, we'll have to fight the elixir puppets endlessly. That's not something that we, the pro-war faction, want to see. Fang Chang, don't be arrogant. I've already strengthened the 100-flower array and the seal on the pill cave's entrance. In other words, you've lost the protection of the elixir puppets. The sword of evil said coldly, although you're a 9th grade sovereign, I believe that as long as we slowly grind you down, we'll kill you sooner or later. Ha ha ha. Fang Chang seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world as he raised his head and laughed. Then, he coldly said, I'll stand here and see how you're going to kill me. Palatial Lord Centaurea, how confident are you in fighting Fang Chang? After listening to the conversation between Fang Chang and the Sword of Evil, Ningyu asked in a low voice with a grave expression. Fang Chang was a 9th grade sovereign. Unless his cultivation reached 4th grade sovereign, Ningyu wouldn't dare to fight Fang Chang. The difference in strength between them was too great. If they fought, they would definitely die. Ningyu, it's all up to you to kill Fang Chang, the Palatial Lord Centaurea said in a deep voice. All up to me? What do you mean? Ningyu was slightly stunned as he asked in confusion. He was only a 3rd grade sovereign. How could he kill Fang Chang? No matter how he thought about it, it didn't seem realistic. There's still some energy left in the 100-flower array. I'll transfer all of it to you. Then, you'll fight Fang Chang. Whether we can defeat him, save Danwu College, and save ourselves, it's all up to you. The Palatial Lord Centaurea didn't wait for Ningyu to reject her. She waved her hands continuously. As the Palatial Lord Centaurea waved her hands, a terrifying energy suddenly appeared before her. Swish. More and more energy gathered, eventually forming a small vortex. The vortex tore through the void and suddenly drilled into Ningyu's body. Rumble. As the vortex entered his body, Ningyu's aura rose at an astonishing speed. Crack, crack. Crisp sounds came from Ningyu's body. Ningyu's battle prowess had risen to the 8th grade sovereign realm in a short period of time. His cultivation was only at 3rd grade sovereign realm, but his battle prowess had reached the 8th grade sovereign realm. Furthermore, Ningyu's battle prowess was still rising. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before Ningyu's battle prowess broke through the 8th grade sovereign realm and reached the 9th grade sovereign realm. By then, he would be able to fight Fang Chang. You're courting death. Fang Chang wasn't a half-baked 9th grade sovereign like He Lian. He was extremely smart. In Fang Chang's opinion, no matter how strong Ningyu's battle prowess was, it was impossible for him to fight him. However, Fang Chang knew that it was better to nip it in the bud. Clenching his right hand into a fist, Fang Chang suddenly charged at Ningyu. I'll kill you as soon as possible before your strength reaches its peak to avoid future troubles. Sword of Evil, defend with all your might. You have to hold off Ningyu for at least 3 minutes. The palatial Lord Centaurea took a step forward and stood in front of Ningyu, blocking Fang Chang's first attack. Bang! Chapter 1160. Fang Chang. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. Fang Chang swept his gaze across Ningyu after forcing the Centaurea Palace Master back with a single move. His eyes turned extremely cold. 3 minutes. From the aura emanating from Ningyu's body, Fang Chang could clearly tell that Ningyu would need at least 3 minutes to raise his battle prowess to the 9th grade supreme realm. In other words, he only needed to kill Ningyu within 3 minutes, and all his problems would be solved. Fang Chang decided to kill the Centaurea Palace Master first before finding trouble with Ningyu. If he handled it well, he might even have the chance to transfer the energy in Ningyu's body into his own. Buzz. Fang Chang did not hesitate at all and attacked without hesitation. With a buzzing sound, Fang Chang's body gradually turned illusory. Not good. The Sword of Evil's expression changed drastically when he saw Fang Chang disappear. He hurriedly flew to Ningyu's side. Venerable Sword Evil knew very well what the most important thing was. He had to protect Ningyu. Only by protecting Ningyu and raising Ningyu's battle prowess to the 9th grade supreme realm in a short period of time would he have a chance to fight against Fang Chang. Otherwise, everyone would be finished today. As the Sword of Evil was close to Ningyu, he arrived before Ningyu first. Bang! It made no difference whether he arrived earlier or later. The result would be the same. The Sword of Evil's body fell backward like a kite with a broken string after taking Fang Chang's punch. The Sword of Evil's already weak body became even weaker after landing heavily on the ground. Can't even withstand a single blow. Fang Chang curled his lips and walked toward Ningyu. He threw 2 punches in a row within a minute. The first punch sent Palatial Lord Centaurea retreating. The second punch sent the Sword of Evil retreating. Fang Chang had originally wanted to throw a third punch, but when he saw the Dark Emperor, he immediately changed his mind. Fang Chang felt that he should capture Ningyu first, as the Dark Emperor was a purple-gold sky-devouring dog. If he refined the Dark Emperor, he would be able to refine a very effective medicinal pill. In any case, the Dark Emperor was only a middle-grade 3rd human sovereign, and his strength was on par with Ningyu. In other words, Fang Chang did not place the Dark Emperor in his eyes at all. Whoosh! Fang Chang's speed increased, until he turned into a blur that appeared in front of Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Ningyu, you can only blame yourself for offending someone you shouldn't have. Surrender obediently and offer up your energy. Maybe I'll leave your corpse intact if I'm happy. The corners of Fang Chang's mouth rose as he said, otherwise, I will let you know what cruelty is. 2 more minutes. Ningyu mumbled to himself after hearing Fang Chang's words. In just 2 minutes, Ningyu would be able to raise his strength to the 9th grade martial sovereign realm. At that time, he might be able to face Fang Chang head-on. Roar! The Dark Emperor knew that he had to stop Fang Chang. Clenching his teeth, the Dark Emperor let out a roar into the sky as his figure rapidly expanded. In just a second, the Dark Emperor's figure grew a few times bigger, and a pair of purple-golden wings appeared on his back, flapping rapidly. Whoosh! Whoosh! Following the flapping of the purple-golden wings, 2 icy rays pierced through the sky toward Fang Chang. You're courting death. Fang Chang stomped the ground and turned around. With a glare, 2 equally powerful icy rays appeared and collided with the icy rays from the Dark Emperor's fan. Whoosh! Whoosh! 4 icy rays collided with one another, resulting in a sizzling sound. Following this, Fang Chang's figure moved swiftly, temporarily giving up on Ningyu and attacking the Dark Emperor. Crack! Fang Chang's attack was ruthless as he slapped the purple-golden wings on the Dark Emperor's back. A crisp sound could be heard as the Dark Emperor's right wing broke. Fang Chang did not stop after his attack. He raised his right leg and kicked the Dark Emperor's left wing. Crack! The same crisp sound could be heard as the wing broke. In such a short period of time, the Dark Emperor's wings were broken. 8. A hysterical roar came from the Dark Emperor's mouth. The wings were an important part of the heaven-devouring hound's body. With the wings broken, the heaven-devouring hound's strength would drop by 90%. The Dark Emperor was a purple-golden heaven-devouring hound, and he was no exception. The Dark Emperor was no match for Fang Chang to begin with, and now that his strength had dropped by 90%, there was no way he could withstand Fang Chang's powerful attack. Whoosh! Whoosh! Fortunately, the Palace Master of the 100 Flowers Palace and the Sword of Evil dashed out at the same time and blocked Fang Chang's fatal blow for the Dark Emperor. Otherwise, Fang Chang's punch would have blasted the Dark Emperor's brains out. Puff! Puff! Although they blocked the fatal blow for the Dark Emperor, the Palace Master of the 100 Flowers Palace and the Sword of Evil were heavily injured. Their auras were weak, and they were on the brink of death. The Sword of Evil and the Palace Master of the 100 Flowers Palace were in a critical situation. At this moment, even a true martial realm cultivator could kill the Sword of Evil and the others. A bunch of trash. I'll deal with you later. Another minute passed after Venerable Sword Evil and the others tossed and turned. As a 9th-grade human sovereign, Fang Chang would always leave some leeway. He wouldn't waste time to deal with Ningyu, because it might lead to unpredictable changes. Ningyu, you only have the strength of a pinnacle 8th-grade human sovereign, and I'm a 9th-grade human sovereign. How are you going to fight me? Fang Chang's lips curled into a smile. He clenched his right fist and punched at Ningyu's divine sense. According to Fang Chang's guess, Ningyu must have gathered all the energy in his divine sense. As long as he could destroy Ningyu's divine sense, there was a high chance that he could transfer the energy into his own body, energy that could allow a 3rd-grade human sovereign to fight a 9th-grade human sovereign was enough to make one's blood boil. Rumble. However, before Fang Chang's fist could reach Ningyu, Ningyu's eyes opened, and a terrifying aura surged from his body. Fang Chang was slightly stunned, and he looked at Ningyu with doubt. It had only been 2 minutes. Logically speaking, Ningyu couldn't have refined all the energy. Ningyu's strength should only be a pinnacle 8th-grade human sovereign. It's impossible for him to reach. F***CK. Feeling Ningyu's aura reaching its peak, Fang Chang gnashed his teeth in anger. I've been tricked. Ningyu's battle prowess had yet to reach the 9th-grade human sovereign realm. He was still at the peak of the 8th-grade human sovereign realm. If Ningyu had the strength of a pinnacle 9th-grade human sovereign, Fang Chang might have some reservations. But now, Fang Chang was fearless. Sapling, you made me wait for so long. Ignoring the changes in Fang Chang's expression, Ningyu couldn't help but curse. Ningyu knew that the Sword of Evil and the others couldn't hold Fang Chang off for 3 minutes. Therefore, the moment he refined the energy, he started to contact the sapling, hoping that it could help him. After all, the sapling was the World Tree, and the World Tree had a fatal restraining effect on Dan Kai. Chapter 1161. Chapter 1161. Battle. Fang Chang, sometimes, cultivation does not represent strength. Since the sapling was willing to help, Ningyu's worries were slightly alleviated. After devouring a large amount of royal-grade origin crystals in the Devil's Cave, the sapling's strength had improved greatly. Although it could not contend against a 9th-grade human sovereign in a one-on-one fight, with Ningyu's help, it could go toe-to-toe with a 9th-grade human sovereign. Although cultivation does not represent strength, if your cultivation is too low, I don't believe you can be that strong. With a cold snort, Fang Chang's figure flashed and he charged at Ningyu. Fang Chang did not know that Ningyu had a sapling. In his opinion, Ningyu was just stalling for time, pretending to be a big shot. Without fully refining the energy, Ningyu's battle prowess could not possibly reach the 9th-grade human sovereign level. In other words, Ning Yu was no match for him. Kai Kai. In order to kill Ning Yu quickly, Fang Chang used his full strength in his first move. Clenching his right hand into a fist, violent soul force coiled around it as he threw a punch at Ning Yu's head. Another soul attack. As a Soul Dan puppet, almost every attack Fang Chang threw was related to soul force. Fortunately, Ning Yu's soul force had reached the 7th grade middle phase, or else Fang Chang's punch would have killed him on the spot. Poochie. Even though Ning Yu managed to tilt his head at the critical moment, his body was still hit by Fang Chang's punch. A tearing pain came from within his body, and the taste of blood in Ning Yu's throat became more obvious. In the end, the taste rushed to his mouth, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Ha ha ha. Seeing Ning Yu's miserable state, Fang Chang threw his head back and laughed maniacally. In the face of absolute strength, all schemes are useless. Fang Chang, I admit that I underestimated you, but you won't be so lucky next. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Ning Yu said in a low voice. Sigh, what's wrong with this world? Why are there so many stupid people? No matter how I kill them, I can't kill them all. Pitiful people must have something hateful about them. Sighing softly, Fang Chang's eyes flashed with coldness as he charged forward once more. In Fang Chang's eyes, Ning Yu was already a dead man. No one in the world could save him. Bang! 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 Each of Fang Chang's attacks could be said to be using his full strength. Each attack landed on Ning Yu's body, causing Ning Yu to be on the verge of collapsing. Why isn't he fighting back? Has Ning Yu lost his mind? In the distance, the Dark Emperor and the others said anxiously when they saw that Ning Yu was only defending and had no intention of fighting back. I don't think he's stupid. He's trying to buy time for us. Palatial Lord Centaurea had a clearer view of the situation. Ning Yu clearly had the battle prowess of a pinnacle 8th grade human supremacy, but he was willing to let Fang Chang hit him. There could only be one conclusion. Ning Yu was trying to buy time for them so that they could recover as soon as possible. Recover what? The Xingyang pills have all been devoured. If this goes on, everyone will die. The Dark Emperor said anxiously. The situation was clear. Ning Yu couldn't hold on for much longer, and they didn't have any Xingyang pills to replenish themselves. If there wasn't a better idea, everyone would be finished. At this moment, the Dark Emperor felt that death was so close to him. If Fang Chang was only a 8th grade human supremacy, they could still put up a fight. But Fang Chang was a 9th grade human supremacy. In front of a 9th grade human supremacy, they were completely. What? Suddenly, the situation changed. The Dark Emperor, Sword of Evil, and Palatial Lord Centaurea had their mouths agape, their faces filled with shock. In the battlefield not far away, a dramatic scene happened. For the first dozen punches, Ning Yu had only been dodging. When Fang Chang's 20th punch was about to land on Ning Yu, a terrifying aura suddenly burst forth from Ning Yu's body. Clenching his right fist, he punched Fang Chang's chest while he was unprepared. Bang! The massive force that came from Fang Chang's chest sent him flying a few meters back. Whoosh! With his attack succeeding, Ning Yu chased after him. Ning Yu's speed was so fast that even the Sword of Evil and the rest couldn't detect Ning Yu's figure. In the blink of an eye, Ning Yu had appeared in front of Fang Chang. Take my punch! Clenching his right fist, Ning Yu's soul power and Yuan Qi wrapped around his wrist as he punched towards Fang Chang's head. Ning Yu had also used his full strength for this punch. Although he knew that he couldn't kill Fang Chang with his full strength, Ning Yu still had a plan. You're courting death. Due to his carelessness, Ning Yu's sneak attack had succeeded. Fang Chang gnashed his teeth in anger. A cold light flashed in Fang Chang's eyes as he punched out with his right hand, colliding with Ning Yu's fist. Letting you live for so long is my dereliction of duty. While punching out, Fang Chang gloomily said, in your next life, remember that there are some pill puppets that you can't afford to provoke. Is that so? At the crucial moment, Ning Yu suddenly withdrew his right hand, and the corners of his mouth curled up. Ning Yu's actions caused Fang Chang to be slightly puzzled. What was he planning? This is the moment. While Fang Chang was puzzled, Ning Yu waved his hands repeatedly, and a cold light instantly flew out. This cold light was extremely fast, and it arrived before Fang Chang in an instant. Crack! The cold light brought with it a sharp gust of wind, directly chopping off Fang Chang's right hand. A hysterical scream rang out from Fang Chang's mouth. At this moment, Fang Chang's right hand was chopped off by the cold light. Rumble. The sudden change caused the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master to widen their mouths as they stood on the spot in a daze. Fang Chang's right hand was chopped off. Arg! Continuous screams rang out from Fang Chang's mouth. Crack! His left hand turned into a palm, and before Ning Yu and the rest, Fang Chang chopped off his entire right arm. The reason why Fang Chang did this was because he noticed that his right arm had started to rot at a rapid pace. If he didn't chop off his right arm soon, his entire body might rot in a few more seconds. Chopping off his right arm could prevent this situation from happening. What a pity. Seeing how decisive Fang Chang was, Ning Yu shook his head and muttered, "A 9th-grade sovereign realm is truly different. He's not sloppy and indecisive when it comes to handling matters." Ning Yu was clear that aside from Fang Chang, any other 8th-grade sovereign realm sovereign would reconsider the previous situation, and they wouldn't abandon their right arm so quickly. Fang Chang's decisiveness proved that he was a formidable opponent. Ning Yu secretly raised his guard. Good, very good, very good. Clenching his left hand into a fist, Fang Chang coldly said, "You've crippled my arm, so I'll use your flesh and blood to reform my right arm. I'm a human, and you're a Dan Ni. What does reforming your arm have to do with me?" Ning Yu said, "After losing your right arm, your battle prowess has dropped from a 9th-grade sovereign to a pinnacle 8th-grade sovereign. Right now, we're on the same level, so what makes you think that you can kill me? Ha ha ha." Fang Chang raised his head and laughed. With this. Chapter 1162. Find a Way. Shadow-splitting sword. Ning Yu stared at the silver sword in Fang Chang's hand, but before he could react, Palatial Lord Centaurea shouted from the side. "What's a shadow-splitting sword?" The Dark Emperor asked. "Although it's only a mid-grade monarch rank flying sword, it's very special." The Palatial Master explained, as the name suggests, the shadow-splitting sword can split into countless swords, and every single one of them is a mid-grade monarch rank. Hiss. The Sword of Evil and the Dark Emperor gasped after hearing the Palatial Master's explanation. A mid-grade monarch rank flying sword wasn't scary, but countless of them. If the shadow-splitting sword was as powerful as the Palatial Master said, then the danger today would be much higher. Not bad. I didn't expect you to know your stuff. Sweeping a glance at the Palace Master, Fang Chang nodded his head and said, "This is the Shadow Clone Sword. I seized it from a 9th-grade human sovereign. Now, I'll use it to kill you guys. Die with no regrets." Ning Yu took a step forward with the red demon sword in hand and said coldly, "You're too arrogant to kill me with a mid-grade monarch rank flying sword." "I'm arrogant." Fang Chang pointed at himself and said, "If I was arrogant, you'd be dead by now." As soon as he finished speaking, Fang Chang dashed out with the shadow-splitting sword in his hand. Whoosh! As he dashed out, Fang Chang brandished the Shadow Clone's sword in his hand. With a wave of the Shadow Clone sword, the original Shadow Clone sword split into 2, 2 into 4, and 4 into 8. Moreover, this division was still going on. In a short span of time, one Shadow Clone sword had already turned into 32 Shadow Clones. 32 shadow-splitting swords surrounded Ning Yu tightly in the middle, airtight. Attack! There was only one thought in Fang Chang's mind, and that was to kill Ning Yu as soon as possible. Whoosh! 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 Shoo! The 32 shadow-splitting swords did not come out in full force. Instead, 5 of them flew out and attacked Ning Yu from 5 different directions. Red Demon Sword. Ning Yu was not a hothead. Although the Shadow Clone Sword was a mid-grade monarch rank flying sword, the Red Demon Sword was no pushover. Strictly speaking, the level of the Red Demon Sword was definitely superior to the Shadow Clone Sword. Ding ding ding! 3 crisp sounds rang out as Ning Yu struck down the 3 swords. Swoosh! There were a total of 5 Shadow Clones. 3 of them were struck down by Ning Yu's Red Demon Sword, while the remaining 2 swiftly arrived in front of Ning Yu and pierced fiercely towards Ning Yu's heart. Ding! Ding! The same crisp sound rang out. What happened next caused Fang Chang's mouth to gape. He was a little dumbfounded. Fang Chang realized that the remaining 2 flying swords couldn't even pierce through Ningyu's heart. What was going on? Fang Chang was puzzled. Ningyu was only a 3rd-grade supreme martial artist. Why was his body so freakishly tough? It's all thanks to the phantom armor. Ningyu took out another Shengyang pill, threw it into his mouth, and chewed slowly. The phantom armor was a defensive monarch rank armor. A mere mid-grade monarch rank flying sword couldn't break it at all. Go. Everyone, go. Fang Chang refused to believe it. He roared after the 5 shadow clone swords were struck down in the first round. Fang Chang didn't believe that Ningyu had such a strong defense. If that was the case, Ningyu definitely wouldn't be so afraid. Swoosh. The remaining 27 shadow clone swords flew out uniformly and arrived in front of Ningyu in an instant. Ningyu wasn't someone who relied solely on the phantom armor. On one hand, he relied on the phantom armor to deal with the shadow clone swords, and on the other hand, he waved the red demon sword to fight the shadow clone swords. Ding ding ding, almost every few seconds, a shadow clone sword would be struck down. In just a few minutes, out of the 27 shadow clone swords, only 2 were left. Fang Chang couldn't take it anymore. He stomped on the ground, grabbed one of the shadow clone swords, and attacked Ningyu. As for the other shadow clone sword, it was fighting with the red demon sword. The red demon sword was a flying sword that had a spiritual body, and it was controlled by the red demon sword. The shadow clone swords were only mid-grade monarch rank flying swords. They were far from giving birth to a spiritual body, so how could they be a match for the red demon sword? The result was obvious. Not long after, the shadow clone swords were struck down by the red demon sword, and they lost their ability to fight. Without the protection of the red demon sword, Ningyu's ability to fight decreased slightly. He didn't have much confidence against Fang Chang, who had a mid-grade monarch rank flying sword. Sapling, it's up to you now. It wasn't scary if you weren't confident. What was scary was not having a chance. Clearly, Ningyu wasn't that kind of person. After using the phantom armor to block Fang Chang's powerful attack, Ningyu flicked his sleeves and threw the sapling out. The shadow clone swords struck the phantom armor, but just like before, they didn't break it. It's a defensive armor. Fang Chang had just realized that Ningyu was wearing a defensive armor when the sapling arrived in front of him. Not good. Fang Chang was no fool. When the sapling attacked him just now, he had vaguely guessed the sapling's true identity. He just didn't have any concrete evidence. Now that he saw the sapling again, Fang Chang was finally sure that the sapling was the world tree. The world tree had a fatal suppressive effect on Danzhong. No wonder Ningyu always looked so confident. You want to use the world tree to defeat me? It won't be that easy. Since the world tree had a fatal suppressive effect on Danzhong, Danzhong had been researching how to counter the sapling for many years. After several hundred years of research, Danzhong had finally found a way to counter the world tree. Possession. Only by possessing a body and temporarily breaking away from Danzhong's identity could he achieve a large degree of immunity against the world tree. Otherwise, he might very well be killed by the world tree today. Fang Chang was very clear about the terror of the world tree. Whether or not he could counter the world tree would depend on this method. Thinking of this, Fang Chang's eyes flickered, and finally stopped on the Sword of Evil. The 100 Flowers Palace Mistress was a woman, the Dark Emperor was a dog, and Ningyu had the aura of the world tree. From this, it seemed that only one person was the best choice. The Sword of Evil. As long as he could possess Danzhong quickly, he could counter the sapling. Fang Chang gritted his teeth and charged at the Sword of Evil. Sword of Evil, retreat. Ningyu knew what Fang Chang was thinking. He squeezed his mouth and shouted, "Run!" Raising his eyebrows, Fang Chang said sinisterly, "In front of me, you won't even have the chance to escape." Kai. Fang Chang knew the severity of the situation. He exerted all his strength in order to reach Sword Nefarious as soon as possible so that he could possess Sword Nefarious' body. Damn it! Phantom armor. Seeing that Fang Chang was determined to possess the Sword of Evil, Ningyu cursed in his heart. He quickly took off the phantom armor and threw it at the Sword of Evil. Pa. Chapter 1163. A Trap. Arth. Fang Chang let out a hysterical roar when he saw the phantom armor on the Sword of Evil. Fang Chang's lungs were about to explode from anger. If he couldn't possess the Sword of Evil, he wouldn't be able to deal with the World Tree. If he couldn't deal with the World Tree, his life would be in danger. I have to possess him. Fang Chang's eyes flickered as he scanned his surroundings. Swoosh. Suddenly, Fang Chang's gaze landed on the Dark Emperor. I'm the Dark Emperor. The Dark Emperor cursed when he saw Fang Chang staring at him strangely. I'm AF * King Dog. How dare you try to possess me? In order to stop Fang Chang from possessing him, the Dark Emperor admitted that he was a dog. Swoosh. However, even if the Dark Emperor admitted that he was a dog, it wouldn't change anything. Fang Chang tore through the void and arrived before the Dark Emperor. Buzz. His body gradually turned illusory as he turned into an afterimage and entered the Dark Emperor's body. Damn it. Ningyu couldn't help but curse when he saw Fang Chang enter the Dark Emperor's body. The Dark Emperor was only a third-grade intermediate human supreme. Rather than letting Fang Chang possess the Dark Emperor, he might as well let Fang Chang possess the Sword of Evil. After all, the Sword of Evil was an 8th-grade intermediate human supreme. His senses were much stronger than the Dark Emperor's. But now, Ningyu had no other choice. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said in a deep voice, Sword of Evil, Palace Master Bai Hua, think of a way to seal the underground pill cavern to prevent any future troubles. Then, protect me. Ningyu also turned into an afterimage and entered the Dark Emperor's body. The Sword of Evil and the Dark Emperor exchanged glances. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. They wanted to help Ningyu, but just as Ningyu thought, they had no other choice but to take the risk. Go and protect Ningyu. I'll activate the remaining 100 flowers array. I'll be able to seal the pill cavern in half an hour at most. Palatial Lord Centauria was very strict in her work. She got the Sword of Evil to protect Ningyu while she sealed the pill cavern. This way, he could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only could he cut off the connection between the pill cavern and the outside world, he could also ensure that Ningyu was safe and sound. Be careful. After saying this, the Sword of Evil leaped to Ningyu's side. Using his powerful perception, the Sword of Evil paid close attention to the changes in his surroundings. If there was even the slightest movement, he would react immediately. At the same time, within the Dark Emperor's body. To be more precise, it was in the Dark Emperor's Sea of Consciousness. Ningyu, the Dark Emperor, and Fang Chang. The 3 of them were in a triangular formation. Among them, Ningyu and the Dark Emperor were in the same camp, while Fang Chang was in a separate camp. How could it be that easy to take over my body? The Dark Emperor said fiercely. Fang Chang, I advise you to surrender. Otherwise, I will devour you. Fang Chang licked his lips and said coldly, anyone that I, Fang Chang, have set my eyes on will never be able to escape from my palm. I'm sorry. Ningyu shrugged and said, the Dark Emperor is a purple gold sky devouring hound, not a human. I think you might be mistaken. There's no difference between a human and a dog, Fang Chang said coldly. I have to remind you that the sapling can restrain you in the outside world. It can also restrain you in the Sea of Consciousness. Shaking his head, Ningyu waved his sleeves and the sapling appeared in front of him. Looking at the sapling in front of Ningyu, Fang Chang's expression was gloomy. No one knew what he was thinking. In truth, Fang Chang knew better than anyone else. If he couldn't successfully take over the Dark Emperor before Ningyu, it would be impossible for him to succeed under Ningyu's nose. Since he couldn't restrain the World Tree through possession, he might as well try to tempt it. Ningyu, I'm the person in charge of the Eastern Expedition Army in the Great Xia Kingdom. As long as you promise not to use the World Tree to deal with me, I will give you a large number of unconscious pill puppet. Fang Chang rolled his eyes and said, in ancient times, the World Tree could devour and produce Shenyang pills. According to the records, the World Tree would drop a large number of Shenyang pills with a casual shake. Oh! Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said calmly, how many unconscious pill puppets do you have? Hand them all over, or you should know the consequences. I can't hand them over, because those unconscious pill puppets are all in the underground pill cavern. Fang Chang said. Don't talk to me about that. You have two choices right now. First, take out a large number of unconscious pill puppets for the sapling to devour. Second, die. As the word die fell, Ningyu's aura burst forth from his body and pressed down on Fang Chang. Ningyu, don't go too far. This is that darn dog's sea of consciousness. If we really fight, I have a way to destroy it. Fang Chang said coldly, the reason why I agreed to give you the unconscious pill puppets is because you are a talent. I want to, noisy. Ningyu's eyes turned cold as he dashed out. The reason why Fang Chang said so much was because he was worried in his heart. Once such thoughts were born, they would never go away. Ningyu grasped this opportunity and dashed out, throwing a punch at Fang Chang. Bam! A dull sound echoed as Ningyu's fist landed on Fang Chang's chest. Not good. Feeling the force of the punch, Ningyu hurriedly retreated. I've been tricked. Fang Chang's lips curled upward as he displayed his wisdom as the person in charge of the Great Xia Kingdom's Eastern Expedition Army. Fang Chang's figure turned illusionary as he appeared beside the Dark Emperor. He clenched his left fist and threw it at the Dark Emperor's head. Bang! The intense pain from his head caused the Dark Emperor's eyes to turn dull. Hehe, Ningyu, when I successfully possess this darn dog, it will be your death. A sinister laughter came from Fang Chang's mouth. Sapling. Ningyu knew the severity of the situation. He immediately communicated with the sapling, trying to get it to deal with Fang Chang. This was the Dark Emperor's sea of consciousness. There was no way he could fight Fang Chang head-on here. If Fang Chang gave up, the consequences would be unimaginable. Once his sea of consciousness was destroyed, the Dark Emperor would be done for. Whoosh! Hearing Ningyu's words, the sapling turned into a blur and appeared beside Fang Chang, slashing his left wrist. Catcher! As soon as the sapling left, a crisp sound could be heard. How is this possible? Fang Chang lowered his head and looked at his palm. His mouth was agape, and his face was filled with disbelief. He had been too careless. Not long ago, Fang Chang's right hand was severed by the sapling, and now his left hand was severed in the same way. In just a few minutes, Fang Chang, a 9th-grade human sovereign, had lost both his left and right hand. After losing his right arm, Fang Chang's battle prowess dropped from 9th-grade human sovereign to 8th-grade pinnacle. Now that he had lost his left arm, Fang Chang's battle prowess dropped from 8th-grade pinnacle to 7th-grade pinnacle. Even if Ningyu didn't have the world tree, Fang Chang was still no match for Ningyu. Death was right in front of him. Chapter 1164. Changes may occur if we delay. I'll give you one last chance. Hand over the unconscious pill in your body. Otherwise, no one can save you. Since Fang Chang was only left with the strength of an initial phase 7th grade sovereign, Ningyu felt slightly relieved. With Fang Chang's combat strength, it was impossible for him to pose a substantial threat to Ningyu. Ha ha ha. Fang Chang threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Soon after, he coldly said, I've already told you that I don't have any pill puppets with me. I need to enter the pill cavern to help you find them. Without the unintentional knowledge pill puppet, there's no point in keeping you around. Curling his lips, Ningyu's figure gradually became illusory. Ningyu disappeared a moment ago, and then appeared in front of Fang Chang in the next moment. He clenched his right fist and punched at Fang Chang's heart. Ningyu had never held back against an extremely dangerous pill puppet like Fang Chang. Having lost both his hands, Fang Chang was no longer the same Fang Chang. How could Fang Chang be a match for Ningyu in his current state? The spirit is willing, but the strength is insufficient. Bang! Ningyu's fist smashed into Fang Chang's heart, sending him flying back several meters. Good chance. The Dark Emperor was waiting for this moment. Although he couldn't possess Fang Chang, he could refine Fang Chang. Fang Chang was a Soul Dan puppet. As long as he was completely refined, the Dark Sovereign's perception would experience a qualitative leap. In the future, even if he encountered a 9th grade sovereign, the Dark Emperor would be able to detect their exact location. And this ability could not be achieved by the law of space. The law of space could only detect the specific location of a peak 8th grade human supreme martial artist. 9th grade human supreme martial artist? Just a little bit more. Emperor of the Dark World, don't just focus on the direction of the devouring. Think of a way to pry open his mouth. I want to know how many Dan puppet there are in the pill cave below. Ningyu felt that it was necessary to remind the Dark Emperor. After all, Fang Chang was only one of the pill puppets. If he was killed, there was still the possibility of Yuan Chang or Zheng Chang appearing. No problem. Give me 10 minutes. After saying this, the Dark Emperor fell silent and began to refine Fang Chang wholeheartedly. As for Ningyu, he left the Dark Emperor's sea of consciousness with a flicker. Ningyu, where's Fang Chang? Seeing Ningyu emerge from the Dark Emperor's sea of consciousness, the Sword of Evil said anxiously. In the Dark Emperor's sea of consciousness. Ningyu replied. Whoosh. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Sword of Evil's expression changed drastically. Fang Chang was a 9th grade mortal sovereign. Wouldn't leaving him in the Dark Emperor's consciousness mean that the Dark Emperor would die? I'll go help. The Sword of Evil stomped his feet on the ground, ready to rush out. However, Nefarious Sword hadn't even charged out when Ningyu slapped him on the shoulder and said, Fang Chang's problem has been resolved. Go and recuperate. I'll see if the palace mistress has sealed the exit of the pill cave. Ignoring the Sword of Evil's reaction, Ningyu turned around and walked towards the palace master. Looking at Ningyu's departing figure, the Sword of Evil was dumbfounded. A 9th grade mortal sovereign, Fang Chang, was killed. At this moment, the Sword of Evil's expression was no different from seeing a ghost. Ningyu was an initial 3rd grade mortal sovereign. Although the Dark Emperor's cultivation was slightly higher than Ningyu's, he was only a middle 3rd grade mortal sovereign. How could the two of them kill Fang Chang in such a short period of time? While the Sword of Evil was pondering, Ningyu had already arrived beside the palace master. Looking at the beads of sweat on the palace master's forehead, Ningyu asked, Do you need Shenyang pills? Lifting her head to look at Ningyu, the palace master said, If you still have more Shenyang pills, give me 3 more. Ningyu's face darkened. The palace master really dared to say that. After a series of battles, he only had 3 Shenyang pills left. Originally, he had 5 Shenyang pills, but he used up 2 in the battle with Fang Chang. Now, Ningyu only had 3 Shenyang pills. Ningyu was a little speechless when the palace master asked for all of them. Here. However, since he had already said it, there was no reason for Ningyu to go back on his words. With a flick of his wrist, the 3 Shenyang pills flew towards the palace master. Pa. Raising her right hand, the palace master held the 3 Shenyang pills firmly in her hand. Thank you. Give me a moment and I'll be able to seal the underground elixir cave completely. After thanking her, the palace master tossed the 3 Shenyang pills into her mouth and chewed for refinement. Ningyu's lips twitched. To be honest, 3 Shenyang pills weren't enough for the palace master to recover to her peak condition. The reason why Ningyu handed the remaining 3 Shenyang pills to the palace master was because she was trying her best to seal the elixir cave. Whether the elixir cave could be sealed or not meant that Danwu College wouldn't be in danger. Ningyu knew the severity of the matter. Therefore, he chose to hand the 3 Shenyang pills to the palace master. Drip. Time passed by the seconds and minutes. The Dark Emperor was refining Fang Chang, Ningyu and the Sword of Evil were fully focused on recuperating while the palace master was busy sealing the elixir cave. Everything seemed to be progressing in an orderly manner. Rustle. What Ningyu and the rest didn't know was that in a dense forest to the west of the capital, a few figures rapidly streaked through the void. Not long later, those figures landed on a spacious clearing. Taking a closer look, there were a total of 4 cultivators. And the cultivation of these cultivators were all grade 5 human sovereigns. A grade 5 human sovereign wasn't terrifying. What was terrifying was that these 4 cultivators were 3 absolute geniuses. In other words, the battle prowess of these 4 cultivators could contend with an 8th grade human sovereign. Apart from the 3 absolute geniuses, the void was faintly trembling. Crack. The void trembled to its limits and suddenly split open. A black-robed old man appeared. Great Desolation Venerable, we're about a dozen minutes away from the capital of the Great Shia Kingdom. Should we continue? Seeing the black-robed old man, the 4-3 absolute geniuses were respectful and didn't even dare to speak loudly. Grade 9 Human Sovereign. This Great Desolation Venerable was also a Grade 9 Human Sovereign. Furthermore, Great Desolation Venerable's battle prowess was clearly stronger than Fang Chang's. That was because Great Desolation Venerable's cultivation was at the pinnacle of initial Grade 9 Human Sovereign, while Fang Chang was only an initial Grade 9 Human Sovereign. The four of you go to the capital first. When you see Lu Wei, take her away immediately. Slightly frowning, Great Desolation Venerable said, I'm going to meet an old friend. I hope you guys won't disappoint me. As he finished his words, Great Desolation Venerable's figure gradually turned illusory and soon disappeared. After Great Desolation Venerable left, one of the Grade 5 Human Sovereigns asked in doubt, Great Desolation Venerable is a Grade 9 Human Sovereign. How can he have an old friend in a place like the Great Shia Kingdom? Don't be careless. Another Grade 5 Human Sovereign said in a deep voice, some powerful cultivators have weird tempers. When they have no hope of advancing, they will return to their hometowns. Who knows, the old friend that Great Desolation Venerable is going to meet might be from the Great Shia Kingdom. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.